Azevedo, it'll be interesting to watch him today, versus possibly a very young side from Towns. I think we had to look for Glenn. Very young guys are going to have to work very hard today.
Yeah, just looking at the Rovers side, Peter, they have got in one of the Simpson boys. You mentioned him earlier, and we spoke with Mick Wall on Footy Forum this morning, and he was saying a young Kane Simpson, only a youngster, he comes in to join his brothers Kobe and also Bo, and he was saying that many rate Kane as being the best of the lot. So
it'll be interesting. What number's he, Glenn?
He will be playing today, and young Kane will be wearing, let's have a look, I haven't found his number just yet, but
we'll work it out.
We'll work it out as Kane is number 1. Kane is number. Only a very young man.
Yep.
I saw him in the change rooms, and he is number 1 to this afternoon. Of course, it's going to be interesting to pick out the Rovers players today because they're wearing a new all-pink Guernsey, of course, as part of the celebrations, which is, and the awareness that it is to raise for breast cancer and cancer awareness. So that'll be an interesting one as well, picking out those players wearing the all pink. Well, there is a bit of black there, and there's a bit of another colour, but mainly red, I guess it is. So pink, black, and red across the shirts, but they've got pink backs, pink shorts, pink socks. So it'll be interesting. Also interesting to see that Towns, their Colts coach, is coaching their league side today. And Gerard Marquis, a very experienced coach in his own right, but he's helping out. Dale Bain's unavailable today, so Gerard Marquis standing up to help his side out. Looking at the umpires this afternoon, they are 2 experienced campaigners, Stephen Pratt and Brian Cohen. So 2 umpires today, and it seems like hopefully the umpires are getting a few more umpires on the track and can fill a few more games. There have been a few stand-in umpires in the minor grades, but let's hope they're all senior umpires available for the league games this weekend. Let's quickly look at the games. Brigades play Chapman Valley out at Mazzucchelli Oval, and Brigades, you saw them last week, Peter, they were very impressive and will start clear favourites against Chapman Valley out at Nabwa.
Absolutely. I picked Railways to win, so I'm surprised I'm still here, didn't get the sack. But, yeah, they ambushed Railways last week, and they were fantastic. They had halfbacks, Dylan, Ralph, and Schofield. Jaden Schofield dominated the whole game. And then the big fella from Railways got hurt, and they took over in the ruck, and they were very, very impressive. And I haven't seen a GNFL side that good for that long. And the other game is a game that you're very interested in. I think we all are, because it really could set up the season. If Railways are good enough to win, well, Railways are back in the race. But if they had to lose another one and get a good working over from Northampton this afternoon, it does put their season at the top of the premiership table in a little bit of jeopardy. Absolutely. You've got blokes like Flynn Dillon and Harry Taylor that are going to be a big handful, and their ruckman's hurt at Railways, so the big stocks are down. Railways really need to show something. Johnny Reynolds was pretty irate after the game, and fair enough. So it's going to be a big one today. And this one, of course, Rovers, the reigning premiers. They haven't played their best footy yet, but you don't play your best footy this time of year. They don't win grand finals at this time of year. You win them in a few months' time. So Rovers, they rebounded last year. They had a very slow period, I think 3 or 4 weeks out from the end of the season. They were battling for getting enough numbers on the track, but they certainly turned that around. They worked really hard. And from what we heard from Farron Parfitt in the sports shed this morning, when I was talking with Peter, he was saying that numbers have been good on the training track, and he thinks things might starting to turn around. Yeah, there's some very slick operators in this Rovers outfit, and I think the problem that Town's going to have, they're going to have, once the game opens up after the first 5 or 10 minutes, there's going to be quick ball movement from Rovers, and they've got some pretty good kicks on this side, precision kicks, and once the game opens up, I think Town's backline is going to be under extreme pressure. They will struggle to hold Rovers, and the 6-6-6 thing doesn't help these sides like this, because the Ross line used to always stack the back line. It's very hard to do nowadays, but I think poor old Rowan Ferris is going to have a big day at the office. Yes, well, he's a standout, isn't he? He's a superstar amongst these young players, and that's the hard thing. And we mentioned it on Footy Forum this morning. It's very, very difficult to rebuild a side when you just don't have enough experienced players around them. And we even see it at top level at the moment. The AFL, with West Coast being decimated by injury, they're bringing in young players that perhaps just aren't quite up to it, but you haven't got much choice. You've only got a set number of players on your list, so you have to use what you've got, and that's what Towns are doing at the moment. Absolutely. It's funny you say that, Glenn. The West Coast Eagles, if you have a look at Bailey Williams and the ruck for had 20 possessions last week. Now, so sometimes some of those players come, it builds character, and so you ever look at a guy like him. I've been watching. I was a ruckman, of course.
Yes.
I watch the most important player on the ground.
Some say. Others say you don't need them,
exactly.
like Nathan Buckley.
The big lumberers, yeah. So, it's character building, and these young Towns guys today, the only way you can really do it today is you've got to play man on man in the back line. You've got to beat your man and have your followers come down and help as much as you can. That's all you can do, and try really hard, do the 1%ers, and that's all they can do.
Peter Forenza joins us in commentary today. We're waiting for the umpires to come out, and then we'll be able to get the game underway. But Peter, it has been a good sign for football in 2023. Every game we've been to, the crowds have been really good, and this is another very good crowd here today. A club that's the reigning premier playing the bottom club, and one would think, it'll be a one-sided contest, and it may well be. But it's good to see the locals turning out and supporting this very, very good cause, but supporting footy in general.
Yeah, you are right, Glenn, and every game, that's dead right, every game we've been to this year has been well patronised by spectators coming along to the ground and just watching what is raw footy, and I think that's what they like to see. They like to see some of these youngsters coming through, some players that they may see in the future down the track doing something even more, a little bit special. This morning we were speaking about one of those special players, Glenn, that we saw on this very ground only a year ago, and that was Judd McVie, and now figuring predominantly in the halfback line for Melbourne.
Very exciting to see the way he's playing, and he's played consistently since his first game. He hasn't been rested at all, and that's generally what happens with young players. They let them have 3 or 4 or 5 or maybe 6 games in a row, and then they give them a spell for a couple of weeks, but they must think his preparation is good enough. He's going well. He's still playing well and still playing with confidence, and that's what I'm looking forward to today. Rovers, Jack Eastoff, he is playing in the Waffle Club for West Coast. West Coast have the bye this week, and they'll be very pleased about that. But Jack loves his footy, and he comes back and supports Rovers. But to be able to play at that level, although the West Coast reserve side, which play in the Waffle, get hammered each week, is still at another level. So it'll be good to see him play here at this level today, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see him go today. Just looking at the ground, Glenn, there are a few patches, aren't there? Like at both ends of the ground, there's some water damage there, a bit of mud and stuff. So it might just be, I don't know. I don't think it'll be too bad on the ground. Do you think? No,
it'll just a bit annoying. It's a little bit slippery and a bit greasy underfoot. Looks like it's gone a little bit black, the dirt underneath, and we haven't had a great deal of rain as yet. As both clubs going into the presentation, which is happening between the Rover Football Club at the moment. So the umpires are out there and ready to go, and as we mentioned, 2 experienced umpires, umpire Stephen Pratt and umpire Brian Cohen. Of course, they are from the Umpires Association. The Umpires Association have certainly got a lot of sponsors, and they are doing a good job, and there has been discussions about umpiring in big numbers in recent times, because we just don't have the numbers that we would require. So if you are looking to become an umpire, do go to training. They train on a Tuesday and a Thursday night. Get in touch with the GNFL. They'd love to hear from you. And they train in behind the Geraldton Tennis Club there at La Fiamma Oval on the Thursday, I think, or the Tuesday. So just get in touch with the GNFL, and they would love to help you out. So both clubs, towns, are linked, and so too are the Rovers Club. Rovers wearing the all-pink Guernseys today as part of this celebration of searching for a cure and raising awareness for breast cancer. And over the last 3 years, the Rover Football Club have raised over $50,000 for this very worthy cause. So they are doing it today. Looking at the sponsors of the GNFL Umpires Association, they include MEDAC, Westweld Engineering, JM Pilot Services, Horizon Accounting, Bubbles Plumbing and Gas, GBSC, the building contractors, Bambi, the early educators, and Sheet Metal Co. So they are the sponsors for the GNFL Umpires Association.
Glenn, I've got to send out a big cheerio to Bubbles. During the week, I don't know whether I'm dyslexic or not, Glenn, but during the week I organised Bubbles to go to a property that I have in town, and I sent him early in the morning, got up early in the morning and sent him a message, and then got my folks to follow it up. My mum went down to my place to wait for Bubbles. 3 hours later, They turned up because I had asked them to go to, I thought, 67, but I'd sent them to 76.
Okay, so no wonder it didn't work out.
So just wait to get the invoice.
Exactly, exactly. So I thought I'd put a nice bit of Cheerio out there to Bubbles so he can look after me.
So when you get the 3-hour job description, you know what it's back, what it's all about.
Glenn, just quickly, what you touched on with the umpires, and just to people to let them know that, you know what, if you're not prepared to umpire yourself, just lay off, you know, like it's, country football's really struggling, and people think it's just open slather to have a crack at them. Like, you know, do you want, Mick Wall's doing it, Joel Ronan's doing it, Boyley's doing it, they do a good job. Those guys play a lot of football. Unless you're prepared to get out there and have a crack, because I've had a go and it ain't much fun. So, you know, just, I know sometimes you think it's wrong or whatever, but just hold your tongue a bit, huh?
That's right, and I think that's the big discussion point. And I think many people have certainly pulled their heads in compared to what it perhaps once was. What was acceptable 10 or 15 or 20 years ago is certainly not acceptable now, and personal abuse is never acceptable. But the umpires are doing the best they can in trying conditions, and we all realise that we need umpires to make the game function, whether it be a boundary umpire, a goal umpire or a field umpire. And if you think you can generate some income, generate some fitness, have some friends, make some more friends, make some more mates, whether you be a male or female, you'd be most welcome to get in touch with the GNFL this week, give them a call and then turn up to training, and they'll give you the correct training and the initiation you require to play senior footy or coach, umpire senior footy that is, and get involved. As we see the umpires in their pink socks getting into position and running around in preparation for the big game this afternoon. Towns, their 4 interchange players are heading for the interchange bench, and they are the big boys. They've got all the big boys on the bench, and Rovers have put the smaller players on the bench at this stage. So
where's your man, Glenn? Ashley Green-Headland. There you go.
Ashley, yeah. I've had a chat with Ashley, and he was very impressed that I recognised him the first time around. And I know who he is now, and I certainly know who he is, but I thought Ashley had given the game away, but Ashley said he had to help his team out. Dale Baines has come along and said, I need some assistance, I need some experience, I need a few more bigger bodies amongst these younger players. So Ashley is stepping up, and it's great to see. Towns have had a lot of success over the years, and it's good to see those players that have success helping the club out in these times when it is pretty tough for them at the moment. Umpire to get the game underway. Umpire Brian Cohen to throw the ball up and get this game underway this afternoon. Round 7 of the GNFL Premiership season. Doing it today for Drennan O'Malley Motors this first term with thanks to the Community Bank Geraldton. Ball goes the way of the pink side in Dwayne Neville and Rovers. Feeds it out to Tommy Denton. Denton spears it up towards full forward. Looking up there for the hard-running player. He can't pick it up. He does so now. Throws it on his boot. That was Josh Simpson. In fact, it was Farron Parfitt. And the ball goes across the boundary line. And the umpire says the ball will be brought back in. It was out of bounds on the full. So it is Towns to bring the ball back in through Josh DeLacy. In fact, the ball will go back. In fact, the free kick will go the way of Parfitt. Farron Parfitt kicks into the man on the mark. In goes Rowan Farris. We'll see plenty of him this afternoon. Farris gets the ball forward, goes the way of Drew Forrester. Forrester gets it up the ground, and he's picked out a teammate there, and that teammate is Collette. Cale Collette is the player. He kicks it forward, looking up towards centre wing. In goes Simpson. In two does go Will Faithful. Ball comes out, goes the way of Matt Russell. Russell's handball goes the way of the player there and Jack Eastoff. Eastoff handball gets picked up by Towns now, and Towns through centre wing get a kick forward there through Payden Mason. Mason gets it up, but it's picked up now by the Rovers player and Sean Brennan. Brennan back to Simpson. Simpson gets it up the field to Prosser. Glenn Prosser, one of the stars of the Rovers.
and Chris Scott. Time.
From Radio Mama. The ball back in the middle now. The umpire about to throw it up. Big crowd in attendance, as we've mentioned. Up they go. Curley knocks it down. Goes away now of Simpson. Josh Simpson beats a couple of players. Gets the ball away. Denton collects it. On his boot into the half-forward area. Running out to try and take the mark is Egan. He can't do so. The ball goes to ground. A bit of a scramble just outside the forward 50 for Rovers. The Town's defence working overtime. They eventually get it. They send it down the middle of the ground, but it isn't a good kick. It goes as far as the Rovers custodian gets it to a teammate now, and it is Simpson again. Josh Simpson, the former Fremantle Docker, gets it up the ground and finds a teammate just in front of the Rovers club room. So Rovers are dominating early in this game, as we suspected. But Towns are at 6s and 7s because Rovers are certainly deciding what's happening. Dictating terms as they kick into the pocket. Gee, it was a bit of a reckless kick in the end. Misses all and sundry and out on the full. So a lucky escape there, Pete, for Towns.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Glenn and Pete, what Towns have to do. It's very hard for them to block their whole. They're going to have to block their whole back line. It's the only way they're going to and work hard one-on-one. That's all they can do.
Josh Simpson's been ominous early. Looks like he's going to have a good day out. The ball is in the forward pocket, just in front of the Rover Football Club rooms. And good crowd there at the moment. Rovers go forward again through Scott. Ball off hands and through for a... No, it still just took a while to go through, but eventually it go through for a force behind. And on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard, Rovers are 2 goals, 1-13. Towns yet to open their account. As we see the ball rebounding, and the ball hasn't been forward of centre for Towns in its first 6 or 7 minutes in this first term. This first term, with thanks to Community Bank Geraldton, and the boundary umpire to put the ball back into play. Beautiful conditions for football here at Greenough Oval. Oval looks a little bit worse for wear, and of course it'll have a break soon as the demolition comes in, and the club rooms, not the club rooms, the change rooms will be restored to the ground, and new change rooms built. Ball comes forward now from centre wing, and a good kick there from the Rovers player, kicks it forward, a good strong mark. Take it there.
Clay Azevedo kicked it off.
He did.
Yeah, Clay Azevedo got it to Jack Eastoff. So Jack Eastoff, the West Coast Eagles player in the waffle, has an opportunity to shoot on goal. He wouldn't have had many opportunities to do that with the West Coast this year because he's been playing in defence and they've been getting lots of goals kicked against them. But Jack Eastoff putting his hand up to be a forward in this opportunity. So here he is, 50 metres out. Rovers have been pretty good in front of goal. There goes the kick. Looks pretty good, but it fades away to the right-hand side, 1 point only. And on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard, it is Rovers. 2 goals, 2-14. They lead Towns yet to score. And we've played almost 7 and a bit minutes in this first term.
Peter Bucket Keefe joining us for special comments here on Radio Mumma, the home of GNFL football. And Josh Simpson's like a jack in the box at the moment, Pete.
Well, he's had a lot of the footy, hasn't he? But these poor old Towns haven't got a lot of height either. Like, they're young, they haven't got a lot of tools to help block up that back line, to punch the ball away. So they're just going to have to really work hard.
Ball coming out to the broadcast side, and up goes Dylan Curley and takes a strong mark. Gee, can leap that fella. He sends it inboard all too easy and finds Simpson. So Simpson, they're all over the place today, Glenn, as we mentioned on footy, I should say on Sportshed Saturday today with Farron Parfitt. If you're unsure of who the player is that's got the ball, you're pretty odds on that it'll be a Simpson. So they're about to tweet. He's about to have a shot on goal against his old club, incidentally. And he's played for Railways as well, but played some good games for Towns. He kicks into the full forward area. That kick is a bit awry and going through for the minor score. So, Glenn, Rovers really dictating terms very easily.
Yes, I think there's 5 Simpsons playing today. We're really looking forward to seeing the youngest Simpson play a little bit later on. Kane Simpson, number 1, when he comes on the ground. It'll be making a opportunity. I think it may be his debut. He may have played one other game, but he's a very, very young player and very impressed that they rate him very, very highly here at Rovers and beyond.
Good grab.
Ball comes back into play and Towns player does well. Takes a good strong mark in the back pocket. His kick, he lets him down, and Towns player there with the ball was James Simmons. Took the great mark. His kick was poor, and now the ball is turned over as Rovers grab it, and Rovers drive it forward through Eastoff. Gets it forward, finds the hard-running player there for Rovers, Clay Azevedo. Azevedo is about 65 metres out on the backward side of the square. Umpire says play on. He takes them on, runs around the man on the mark, shoots towards goal, and he has just missed. Good effort there from Azevedo. Made the extra distance, but didn't have the right accuracy. Ball goes out of bounds, so another minus score on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard. Rovers are 2 goals, 4-16, and Towns yet to open their account this first term, with thanks to Community Bank Geraldton, and we've played 10 minutes.
Yes, the middle stages of the first term, as you just heard from Mr. Football Glenn Barnden. Yours truly, Peter Forenza, along with special comments from Peter Bucket Keefe here on Radio Mumma, the home of GNFL football. Drennan O'Malley game day. The ball coming in deep attack now for Rovers from the boundary. It's picked up by the Rovers custodian, goes one way then the other, goes out now to Simpson. He sends it inboard, but there's Rowan Farris. He's picking up a lot of kicks this afternoon.
Thank God for Rowan.
As we were suspecting would happen. Out of the half-back line it comes. The player is quickly brought to ground, gets it away to a teammate, slips in the mud, puts it to his boot, sends it to the Horwood Road side of the ground. Towns still have possession just, but Rovers are putting on the pressure as they send it further afield, as I mentioned, on the Horwood Road side of the ground. But Rovers mop it up. There's Simpson. Simpson to Simpson, and back down the line, or down the wing it goes, and it's marked there by the Railways player, I should say the Towns player, who was taken forward, and the ball goes over the boundary. So the ball about to be thrown in now. Good conditions for football here this afternoon. The breeze not a factor. Hasn't been for the last couple of weeks in the GNFL. Great conditions for footy. The ball going forward now for Railways into the half-forward area. Up they go. 2 Towns against 1 Demon. The ball goes to ground. Demons run onto it. Can they soccer it forward? Going inside the corridor now. Looks like it's Azevedo who has it. He spins around on a 50-cent piece and scores a goal for Rovers.
Yes, Rovers 3 goals, 4-22 on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard. So golf scorers to this point. Stuart Egan has 1. Christopher Scott has 1. And now Clay Azevedo has 1. And it's a very, very good and ominous signs, I guess, for Towns early on, Peter. And it looks like Towns have got the work ahead of them.
Yeah, I coach Clay Azevedo, so he'd only be 19. He's got a pretty good body size in him there, Glenn, but he's very good around goals. It's a bit ominous, isn't it, as the game's opening up. And Towns are trying their hardest, and look, that's all they can do is just keep trying, block that back line up, put a spare man in defence. That's all they can do.
So Claz Azevedo, a promising young player, and it's good to see him get the score on the board. Towns, their work rate is good, but Rovers just have the skill level, and particularly in the centre where they have all their guns. They've got Chris Scott, Tom Denton, Dylan Curley, and also Josh Simpson. So
Clay Azevedo wearing the coveted number 7, Peter Bucket-Keefe, worn by one Justin Credelli and the other, my brother Dave Forenza.
Big Steamboat.
As the ball comes quickly out of the centre, Denton gets it towards goal, and he's just a little bit offline. So on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard, Rovers are 3 goals, 5-23. Towns yet to open their account into the 12th or 13th minute of this term.
Hasn't been over the centre line really, Glenn, has
it? Hasn't been forward to centre, no, not once, which is a bit strange at this time. So Rovers have come to play this afternoon, a very important game for them and their club as they continue to raise awareness and raise funds for breast cancer. It is sponsored by the SMS Group WA. Once again, Rovers go forward, but the Towns defender stands in his way. Good Mick Hoffhammer takes the mark, plays on quickly, gets it away there to the hard-running youngster for Towns in young Josh DeLacy. DeLacy goes across the ground, picks out a teammate, and that teammate is young Aiton Mason. Aiton Mason gets it up the centre of the ground, where he picks out a teammate on centre wing. Ball goes a little bit further up the ground, very close to the boundary line. Matt Russell is that player. Matt Russell grabs the ball, kicks it high, wide and handsome, but it goes straight in the arms of Jack Eastoff for the player there for Rovers. Gets it further afield. In goes Denton. He slips over in the mud. And whistle on play. Umpire says you didn't get rid of that ball appropriately. And the ball will go the way of Towns. And they may get the ball over centre.
Young Kyan Townsend has been figuring in the Rovers lineup since last season. He's reminds me of Quentin Narkle, but he's also Narkle all over because
he does.
He's got the helmet of Phil Narkle as well. The ball in the middle of the ground now for Towns, coming into the half-forward area. Up they go. The ball just outside the centre square. Players diving on top of it. Towns desperate to get into their forward 50 and have an opportunity at goal, but the defence for Rovers are resolute as it goes to the outer side now, and it's Sean Brendan who puts it to his boot and sends it to the Horde Road side, but the whistle has sounded and the ball will be thrown in. It's gone out on that boundary a few times now. Big crowd in attendance, as we've mentioned. Ball coming in now, players setting themselves. Goes down the throat of a Towns player. He's unable to collect it though, loses it. Drops his bundle, goes to ground. Players diving on top of each other, and the umpire comes in to relieve the pressure.
As we go around the grounds with thanks to the City of Greater Geraldton, Lara Dalton, the member for Geraldton. And the game being played out at Mazzucchelli Oval at quarter time. Brigades are 3 goals straight, 18. They lead Chapman Valley 2 goals, 4-16. So a good, tight, quick contest out there at Nabwa at the moment. As Towns get the ball up towards the player there who gets pushed in the back. So Towns back line doing well. They're under a fair bit of pressure. Ball comes across the ground, finds Callum Marquis, one of their developing young players. Marquis gets tackled, ball spills, picked up by Simpson. And he gets it further afield, looking up there for a teammate, and that player is Tristan Simpson. And Tristan Simpson sees the ball across the boundary line. And the Rover Club rooms packed out this afternoon for this big day. Sponsors' logos are there, and many other people enjoying the atmosphere this afternoon. Overcast conditions now, but still very pleasant for football. Towns Ruckman has the best of it, and Ben Svensson knocks the ball forward. Very close to the pocket, picked up by Marquis. Whistle on play, a free kick has been picked out, and it'll go to the Towns player. So just repeating, quarter-time score from the game out at Mazzucchelli Oval. Brigades 3 goals straight, lead Chapman Valley 2 goals 4. And as soon as we get the score from the Railways game, we'll bring it to you.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty good scoreline there at Mazzucchelli Oval, Glenn. The ball coming in now for Rovers into the half-forward area. Scott bounces once, twice, puts it on to his boot inside the corridor. The mark can't be taken. Eventually picked up by Azevedo once again. He tries to snap it toward goal. Is thwarted in his attempts. As players go to ground, the ball is bottled up. The umpire will relieve the pressure. So throwing up now the ball just in front of the, or in the shadows of the goals for Rovers at the city end. Or eastern end, the ball goes to ground, picked up by Azevedo, comes out of the pack, spins around. The player on his boot looked pretty good as he sent it forward, but unlucky on this occasion as it comes off hands, and that was Dalton Jones who was unlucky on that occasion, putting it through for the minus score.
Chapman Road Dental Clinic rolls over for Rovers as well, and Rovers are 3 goals 6-24, and they lead Towns yet to open their account. We have played some 16 minutes in this quarter, and the ball goes forward as we quickly see the ball across the boundary line. There'll be a boundary throw-in. Quarter time in the Northampton Railways game, and at quarter time Northampton 6-3 lead Railways 3-3. So Northampton started well there at Warren Taylor Home Recreation Ground. Quarter by quarter summaries with thanks to the City of Greater Geraldton and Lara Dalton, the member for Geraldton. We'll bring you those as this game is running about 10 minutes behind the other games this afternoon. Ball goes the way of Towns, and the player there for Towns in Josh DeLacy sees the ball across the boundary line in the right forward pocket for the Rovers club. So Rovers are kicking to the club room's end, or the city end this afternoon at the moment. Towns are kicking to the airport end. The breeze is probably favouring the city end as the ball comes back into play, and Rovers get it up towards the forward line there. Picked up there by that player who had a last shot on goal in Delton Jones. Ball very close to the boundary line. Towns need to knock it through or knock it out. The umpire says the players, give it to me, I'll throw the ball up. It's only metres away from the danger zone for Rovers in that right forward pocket next to the change rooms. Umpire Pratt, Stephen Pratt, and umpire Brian Helen get along this afternoon. Picknell ball held to him, and once again umpire Pratt has no option but to throw the ball up. So it's a pretty tight contest, but Towns, you can't underestimate their challenge, Peter.
No,
they're working hard, aren't they?
And that's what they have to do. There's nothing else they can do besides, block the holes, block it up, man on man.
As often as they can.
Exactly, do all the little things and actually doing it all right.
They're trying. The ball comes back towards Rovers now as Rovers unload. They get the ball forward there through the player in Tristan Simpson. It bounces through, and in fact it bounces out of bounds, and the ball will be brought back in. So time ticking by in this quarter. We've played 19 minutes in this first term. With thanks to Community Bank Geraldton as we head into time on in this first quarter.
Glenn, we weren't here at Greenough Oval last week, but Mullawar certainly came to play against the Demons, and I think that Coach Ian Comben is pressing for his Demons to be a little bit more focused today, and they are putting on the pressure as we see a player go up and almost take a great mark, comes off hands and spills over the boundary in front of the Rover Football Club. So the Demons keeping it in their forward 50. They lead 3-6-24 on the scoreboard. Towns yet to make an impact on the board. The ball going forward now for Chris Scott. He's almost a sling tackle as he gets rid of it. The ball goes to ground. It is Towns at the bottom of the pack and Rowan Farris, of course. The ball comes out there. Rovers do have it. Simpson, he's clever, he's quick, and he puts through another goal for Rovers.
So he's a good player, that Chris Scott.
Yeah, so Josh Simpson got that one?
Yep.
So that becomes the fourth goal scorer. So looking at the goal scorers in this first term, we're into time on now as we head towards quarter time. For Rovers, Stuart Egan has one, Chris Scott one, Clay Azevedo one, and now Josh Simpson one. So Rovers have had it in their forward 50. We still haven't seen the ball go forward of the centre towards Towns' goal at any stage in this quarter. And I can't remember seeing a game like that in a long time.
There's a dislocation too, because you've got Towns players are right up too far, so there's no way, there's no link. They can't, there's 50, 70 metre gap between, so their forwards either have to come up and try and run the ball,
yes,
or they're not, it's not going to happen.
So the ball back in the centre. So can Towns get a late goal while they have the ball in the centre, so the closest they get to their goals at this stage? As we wait for the ball to return in earlier games today, with thanks to the City of Greater Geraldton and the member for Geraldton, Lara Dalton. Towns won the Colts, Rovers won the reserves, Towns won the women, and Towns have got the work ahead of them, it's fair to say, in this league game, trailing by 30 points as we head towards quarter time. Umpire Cohen with a pink footy to throw it into the air.
Player coming onto the field, Jesse Ryan, wearing number 19, new for the Demons, Glenn.
Good to see. Look forward to seeing a couple of new players for both clubs out there this afternoon. Picked up now by the Towns player, tried to take them on. Umpire, has saw it that way too. Could have got rid of the ball and he didn't. And that player was young Timothy George. Comes back towards Rovers, and it's picked up by Glenn Prosser. And Rovers side go forward has picked up a good mark taken by Clay Azevedo and a good pass from the Rovers player who got the ball forward. So the ball is picked up now by Clay Azevedo.
Azevedo and Simpson racking up kick speed.
Absolutely. Yeah, and what we said earlier, but we all said, they're centre line. They're all those players, Tom Denton, Chris Scott, their delivery into the forward line, second to none.
So here we have Clay Azevedo become the first multiple goal scorer for the Rovers club in this first quarter. There's going to have a lot of goal scorers, I would think, throughout the day, the way it's going. Azevedo sheds on goal, and he's hit the post, so a little bit unlucky there. And the scoreboard for Chapman Road Dental Clinic is Rovers 4 goals 7, 4-7 31. As Towns quickly bring the ball back in, but they only bring it as far.
Fella.
Yeah, there is Kane Simpson. Plays on quickly. Gives it to Stuart Egan.
And
Stuart Egan has marked. And the umpire is giving Towns the benefit of the doubt. Stuart Egan gets up, wrapping his head. The umpire must have been unsighted. As we see Stuart Egan going back and shooting on goal. Stuart kicked the first goal of the quarter. So Stuart Egan is 50 metres out, on a bit better than 45-degree angle, a bit closer to the middle of the ground.
Yeah, you're right behind him, Glenn.
So Stuart Egan, he's been very good form the last couple of weeks, and it seems like Ian Comben has found him, and there's a free kick going the way now of Towns at a turnover. Rovers have given away a free kick in the square, so the free kick goes the way of the Towns player. Can't believe his luck. As the ball comes forward and picked up again by Chris Scott, very close to the boundary line, the pink footy, looking for somewhere to go. Chris Scott steady, centres the ball now, but a Towns player next in.
Forward to centre, Glenn, for a change.
Will Faithful, yes, Will Faithful goes by hand to Payden Mason, back to Will Faithful, and this is the furthest the ball has been forward for Towns, but it's picked up by Kane Simpson, given it to his brother in Kobe. Kobe Simpson gets back by forward, and who has force through for a force behind. So the scoreboard is Rovers. I think the score may be a goal ahead of itself, but it will stick with the scoreboard at the moment. But I think there's a Rovers have only got 4 goals. But ball comes back into play. Comes the way of the Rovers player again. This time it's Tom Denton. Gets it in towards the forward pocket where he finds Farron Parfitt. Parfitt plays on quickly with a short pass. Finds Tristan Simpson. And Tristan Simpson is lining up for goal. He's 35 metres out on a 45-degree angle just in front of the Rovers Football Club. And Rovers will get their 5th goal of the afternoon if Tristan gets this one. Tristan Simpson played the last few years at Railways. There goes his kick. He is off hands and off line and 1 point only. So the Rovers scoreboard on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard goes to 4 goals 7, 30, 4 goals 7, whatever. 30 comes back in now. Towns defence. The Towns defender said, I'm going to kick it as high and as long as I can. Looking up there for some movement from Ben Svensson. The ball comes out, goes the way of young Kane Simpson. He feeds the handball out to Chris Scott. Chris Scott kicks it in towards the forward pocket. Looking again for that player. But there's the siren. It's quarter time at the football. And Rovers have had a very, very productive quarter. Quarter time. And on Radio Mama, we can tell you that the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard is Rovers 4 goals 7. They lead Towns yet to score. Today. Peter Bucket Keefe, keeping you company this afternoon from Greenough Oval. And at quarter time, Rovers 4-9-33, doing pretty good stuff and playing well. They've had 11 scoring shots and really could have really blown this game away if they haven't already. And Towns are yet to open their account at quarter time. Our half-time summaries and quarter time summaries are with thanks to our friends at the City of Greater Geraldton, Lara Dalton, the member for Geraldton. Rovers goals, Stuart Egan 1, Chris Scott 1, Clay Azevedo 1, Josh Simpson 1. For his thoughts on the better players and contenders for the Skeeters Restaurant Player of the Day. Who have you liked in the first quarter, Peter?
Well, it's a bit of a raffle around the centre, isn't it, Glenn? So Josh Simpson easily best on ground, followed by Chris Scott. Azevedo's working hard in the forward line. Denton's disposal in the 50s, fantastic. Dylan Cooley. For Towns, fighting hard. He'll need a hot bath tonight. Rowan Ferris, Josh DeLacy, Atten Mason, Callum Marcus and Will Faithful.
We're underway in this second term of our match of the day with Adrenaline O'Malley Motors. The quarter brought to you by Melissa Price, the member for Geraldton, as Will Faithful wins the ball out of the centre for Towns, goes to the outer side and finds young Timothy George, one of the really young players on the park for Towns this afternoon. Shows good skill, good poise, kicks it forward, and Towns have gone a little bit further forward than they have previously. James Simmons is that player. He plays on with a short pass, picks out a teammate, so Towns steady, and they get the ball into the forward 50 almost, looking there for Will Faithful, but the ball goes very close to the boundary line. There'll be a boundary throw-in as we quickly go around the grounds with thanks to the City of Greater Geraldton. Quarter time at the other games, they're about 10 minutes ahead of us, and in the game out at Mazzucchelli Oval, Brigades a 3-goal straight, Chapman Valley a 2-4, and the game at the Recreation Ground, Northampton a 6-3. They lead Railways 3-3.
Some good games happening in and around the GNFL this weekend. Hope you're enjoying our broadcast here on Radio Mama, the home of GNFL football. Town starting to get some attack now. The breeze is slightly favouring the western end as we see Marquis with the ball now. It's a nice kick into that area. Up into the full 40 area it goes. Comes off hands over the boundary. It's Simpson who's first in the race. That's Kobe Simpson. He takes it to the boundary but doesn't take it over as the Towns players work hard to keep it in their forward 50. But the ball eventually goes over the line. So the ball in front of the canteen here at Greenough Oval this afternoon. A canteen that may be no longer come mid-season. New renovations happening at Greenough Oval. A long time in the waiting. The ball going back toward the boundary. Comes off hands. It's Chris Scott who's in the thick of things. He's in the thick of things all the time for the Demons. The JJ Clue medalist. The ball comes off hands once again. There are more Towns players working hard now in their forward 50 to ensure they keep the ball up here, and they're doing a good job of that at the moment, Glenn.
It's important they lock the ball in their forward 50. They haven't had the ball in their forward 50 at all this afternoon, but they are going to the city end in this term, and maybe they like to play in front of the crowd, and that's why they have got the ball in their forward 50 and perhaps hopefully can get a score on the board in the not too distant future. Boundary umpire to put the ball back into play about 40 metres around from the right point post at the western end of the ground. Ball comes back, goes the way now of a Rovers player in Michael O'Brien. But once again, Towns keeping the ball bottled up, but they need to get a score on the board while they have it there. But Rovers have got the free kick, in fact, and Michael O'Brien is that player. He goes backwards to go forward, picks out Simpson. Wasn't a very good kick, put Kobe Simpson under the pressure, and the ball goes out of bounds. So it's a little bit closer to the Towns goal than it was, because the Rovers bloke went backwards 15 metres. So the ball will be thrown in. It's about 15 metres around from the point post now. Ball thrown back into play. Pretty slippery at that end of the ground. Ball comes back to Rovers. O'Brien's there. Gets it out. Looking for some run from the Rovers players. The Towns players, you can't say they aren't dogged. And they throw themselves at the ball and the player. And the umpire has no option but to come in and throw the ball up once again. So another opportunity for Towns to go forward.
Early stages of the second term, Rovers have a handy lead. Towns yet to open their account. Rovers 33 on the scoreboard thanks to the Chapman Road Dental Clinic. Towns go forward again. Can they see a score on the board? They put it inside the corridor. Running out to try and collect it is their full 40. He's unable to do so. Players quickly brought to ground. Rovers defence working hard now. Simpson down the wing. I think he's a debutant, but we'll qualify that as the game progresses. Going toward the boundary now. Ball doesn't matter, it's kindly for either side and be thrown in just in front of the Towns dugout. Not far from our broadcast position for Radio Mama, the home of GNFL football. And hello to Melissa Price, the member for Durack, who is the sponsor of this, the second term. So the ball Throwing in now, players setting themselves. Curley goes up, but he isn't able to bring it down. Towns come through the pack now in the guise of Peyton Mason. He puts it onto his boot. Inside the corridor it goes. Fisted away. Can Towns score something here as it goes to ground? Putting Rovers under pressure now as the Rovers defender puts it onto his boots, kicks it down the corridor, goes away of Chris Scott now. He switches play to the outer side. That's the Hallwood Road side of the ground. At centre wing, it's collected now, and they play on to the Demons. Down the line they go now, into their forward 50 for the first time in this particular quarter. Running onto it are a couple of players, but eventually it goes the way of Simpson. Bo Simpson sends it inboard, but isn't a great directional kick and lands in the chest of a Towns player who kicks it straight the way of the player there in Tommy Denton. He shoots on goal, does Denton, the former JJ Clune medalist, but it's a little bit of a worm burner. Comes off hands and through for the minor score.
So well done by Drew Forrester, the defender, and the young captain. Got a big task back there in defence, but Tom Denton didn't quite get as much elevation as he would have liked in that one. As the ball comes back into play, Towns player has the ball held to him, didn't have prior opportunity, and rightfully so, the umpire, Brian Cohen, will come in and throw the ball up right on the 50-metre line. So the ball's at Rovers' end of the ground now as Josh Simpson roves it beautifully, picks it up, shoots on goal. Beautiful kick from 35 to 40 metres out.
Glenn.
Running into the pocket. He's a class act, there's no doubt about that. And Josh Simpson gets his second goal of the afternoon. And on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard, Rovers go to 5 goals, 8. And they lead Towns yet to score.
Peter, the position that he made in that passage of play, Josh Simpson, just makes things look so easy, but he's a clever player, isn't he?
He is a class act. He was drafted by the Dockers, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, class act. Towns have come out in the second quarter, I think, Glenn and Peter, with a bit more...
Yeah, they've held it down pretty well. They've stopped the bleeding to some extent.
Yeah, a bit more intent, and which is good. That's all they've got to do.
4-8, 4-9, I think it is. Is it on the scoreboard? What are they putting up as
4-8, I think.
4-8. Let's see what happens.
5-8.
Yeah, I think they've got the score the wrong way around.
Yeah, they didn't miss it. They're having a bit of trouble. They're having a bit of trouble.
They're having a bit of trouble. Okay, ball back in the middle now. And Curley is up in the air first, as he is on most occasions, going the way of Scott. He loses possession, goes back the way of the Towns player now. Towns can do something here as they go laterally out to the Hallwood Road side of the ground. Can they do something as Rowan Farris picks it up on the half-back flank, puts his boot into the ball and sends it further afield, but there's no one upfield, and the ball bounces over the white line. So about to be thrown in now. As I said, a good crowd in attendance here for this round of fixtures in the GNFL, and we're playing for a good cause here this afternoon. Of course, cancer awareness, and Rovers are wearing pink Guernseys, pink shorts and pink socks, Glenn.
And they've got plenty of wonderful oxygen items to be sold tonight as Rovers go forward again, and Rovers use their skill and pace. They get it on the boot there. Does Jack Eastoff, shoots towards goal, but Jack is offline, and a minor score result. So on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard, Rovers are 5 goals 11, 41. As the whistle on play, as the ball comes back in quickly from Towns. Towns have it up the ground to Rowan Farris. Rowan Farris on half back. Just got rid of the ball, just the nick of time. Kicks it up towards centre wing. Nobody home for Towns. Rovers are there through Dylan Curley. He gives it back towards Eastoff. Eastoff gets it further afield, up towards the 50-metre line, where he finds a teammate there. And that player is Farron Parfitt. Farron Parfitt said, I'm going to kick for goal. He does. And a good strong mark taken back there by the Rovers forward. And a good strong mark it was from Clay Azevedo. And Clay Azevedo, a very strong mark under a bit of pressure. 2 Towns defenders coming at him from either side. But Clay Azevedo held his ground and took a very, very strong mark.
Peter Ruckett-Keefe said earlier, Glenn, great build for a football, Azevedo. Just the right size.
A very handy player indeed.
Good goal sense, this young fella.
Straight through the middle.
Yeah, so Clay Azevedo also has 2 goals for the afternoon now. And looking at the goal scorers to this point, Josh Simpson has 2, Clay Azevedo 2, Chris Scott has 1, Stuart Egan has 1. And Towns are going to be very careful because they'll all be lining up to kick goals shortly if they don't rein them in. Rovers just have the skill and also the pace, and they certainly have the midfield to continually win the ball out of the centre.
Just watching that Tom Denton before, Glenn. I've seen a guy in the GNFL for a long time deliver the ball like that. He's a fantastic kick.
Yes, of course, he's coming back from a very serious knee injury after he won the JJ Clune medal. The next year he had a knee operation.
I'd go as far as to say, Glenn, that he isn't even fit as he can be at the moment either.
No, well, he finds it very, very tough. He's not the player he was, he tells us, but he's looking pretty good this afternoon.
He's doing all right.
Yeah, he's doing okay.
Yeah.
So pretty class player, but as we said from the first bounce, the starting four in the centre there for the Rovers, you'd be pretty impressed if you could take them all to GNFL as the Country Week side at the minute. The ball goes the way of the player in Tristan Simpson, has it at centre half forward for Rovers. Towns defence, get the ball handballed away. Rowan Farris sticks the slipper in, gets it out towards the boundary line on the Hallwood Road side of Greenough Oval. Beautiful day for footy, overcast, good conditions as Rovers are enjoying the opportunity as Dylan Curley gets another possession, kicks it forward, goes the way of Eastoff. He's tackled, picks it up now as the Rovers player there, and Tom Collins in fact it is, and Tom Collins, players are asked to play on and the umpire says play on, nothing in that. The ball goes out to the other side. Chris Scott's there, so too is the young Towns player. He eventually gets rid of the ball. Chris Scott retrieves the ball, feeds it out to Dylan Curley. Curley goes by hand, gets it to Tom Collins after a handball, and Collins gets it further afield. In fact, it's Tom Denton gets it further afield. In goes Tom Collins now, feeds it out, gives it towards Jack Eastoff, and he kicks it the way of the player there who gets it up in Stuart Egan, and Stuart Egan gets another goal on the board, so Stuart becomes a multiple goal scorer as well. So the forwards are having a little bit of fun, and it was good, as you said, Peter, the first 5 to 6 minutes. Towns were able to hold them and keep them in check, but since then we've seen the gates open a little bit.
Every time the game,
and Rovers have kicked the next 3.
Every time the game opens up, they're starting to link play together, and pretty hard to stop.
Very interesting watching Jack Eastoff. He doesn't have the goal sense he probably would like, and he's missing probably some goals that he should be getting, and would be really frustrated when he sees someone like Josh Simpson score through the middle pick zone. Ball back in the middle stages of the second term. Rovers have a handy lead thanks to the Chapman Road Dental Clinic. 7-11 on the scoreboard. Towns are yet to open their account, so really getting nailed here this afternoon. Chris Scott is doing part of that damage. Ditto for this player, gets it to Denton. Oh, why? They go 3 ways. 3 wise men as it goes the way now of Simpson, but he kicks down the throat of the opposition. Can I do something here, Towns? Coming out of defence, the broadcast side, sizing up their options. They don't seem to know what they're doing when they're going forward, but it's hard when you can't go forward too often. Having to bottle it up, the ball just in front of our broadcast position. It's picked up by that player there in to move forward in Ryan. Ryan sends it inboard now, but loses possession. The ball goes away of Towns to the outer side. They've got a bit of room here on the fat side of the ground as they move forward. The ball is in the guise of Timothy George. Gee, he runs once, twice, bounces it, kicks it down in front of the Rovers. Rooms up, go 2 players to contest the ball. Goes over the top of those. The Rovers player at the back of the pack. He goes one way, then the other. He's able to protect himself from a player running in, puts it onto his boot, sends it down the line. The Rovers player can't take the mark, but able to collect it on the second attempt. That's Collins again. He sends it into the half-forward area. Through comes Josh Simpson and takes another nice mark. In fact, it is another Simpson who took that mark. Simpson to Simpson. Inside they go. Inside the corridor. The ball over the back goes away of the Towns player. He's caught at 6s and 7s. Goes away of Josh Simpson again. And as I've said, he is just a magician as he just sizes up with about a couple of seconds, even a nanosecond, at his disposal to put it through for another goal for the Demons.
Yeah, Josh Simpson, you've mentioned it, Peter, but I think you're being a bit harsh on anyone else because he's just supreme skill, isn't it, Peter Keith?
Absolutely, yeah. He's a player. He's a cut above these guys at the moment. But like you said, when you hit the nail on the head, the centre line of Rovers are hard to match. And I think they're sending a warning, even though they're playing a depleted Town side, they're sending a warning to the GNFL that they're starting to
build some momentum, starting to show that they are on their day.
I'd sense, gentlemen, that the pressure that they are applying today wasn't here last week.
No.
Ball comes back in a moment, but let's quickly go around the grounds. We're still waiting. This game is running about 10 minutes behind the other games, but we haven't got a half-time score from the other games yet. But our quarter-time scores from other games sees Northampton 6-3, leading Railways 3-3, and out at Nabwar Brigades 3-1, leading Chapman Valley 2-4. As the ball quickly comes out of the centre, Rovers can do something now if they get rid of the ball quickly through Jacob Troy. Whistle on play. It's an unsafe tackle and go the way of Jacob Troy. So Jacob Troy goes back, kicks it in towards the centre, looking there for that player, and Jesse Ryan. Jesse Ryan goes across the ground and picks out a teammate there. That player gets a kick forward in Bo Simpson. It goes the way now of Towns, and Rowan Farris, he must put on another person's jumper when he goes out there, because the other teams always seem to kick it to him. He just reads the ball so well.
Thank God for Rowan.
The ball goes the way of Callum Marquis, back towards Rowan Farris on the centre wing. Farris kicks it up towards the city end of the ground, clubroom side of the ground here at Greenough. Picked up by Towns. Towns get it into their forward 50 again, but offline, out of bounds on the full. So Rovers will get to bring the ball back into play. This second term, with thanks to Melissa Price, the member for Durack, as we go around the ground with thanks to the City of Greater Geraldton. Brigade 7-3, Chapman Valley a 4-7, and it's a really good game out there at Mazzucchelli Oval.
The ball in defence now for the Demons. They're playing with it as they probably shouldn't be, as they come across backward of play now, and there's going to be the ball is out on the floor. Deliberate, one would think, and about to be brought in by Towns.
Throwing, I think.
Oh, yeah, in the AFL they'd probably be deliberate. Pretty lucky.
I think so.
Pretty lucky. So the ball about to be thrown now and deep attack now for Towns. Can they get a score on the board? Players setting themselves. It comes, a player is pushed out of the road. That is the Towns player, and may have their first shot on goal now as he comes back to have a shot, and now 50-metre penalty. So James Simmons will go in, and it looks like the youngster is going to cause an upset with the first goal of the afternoon for Towns. Even though it was a 50-metre penalty, he was right in front of goals anyway, and James Simmons, the youngster, one of the youngest guys on the ground, scores Towns' first major.
Well done to young James. It's good to see him get the score on the board. It's always good to get your first score on the board. Unfortunately, it's taken a fair time to get to this point, because it has been a 16-minute into the second quarter for Towns to get their first score on the board, but well done to them as we go around the grounds with thanks to the City of Greater Geraldton. And looking at the half-time score, 9 goals, 660. They lead Railways 5 goals, 434. So tight games in other contests, but Railways in a bit of problems at the Rec at the moment, and Chapman Valley in a bit of problems at Naboo Oval at the moment. But the game's still winnable. The games haven't got away from either club as yet.
Okay, ball coming back into the middle now. The last score, the first of the afternoon for Towns, gets them on the scoreboard. Breaks their duck, so to speak. Up they go. The Rovers' big player man tries to knock it down on this. He's successful, getting it forward. Another big man, Scott, comes in. He kicks it into the half-forward area. Out comes Rowan Farris. He's thrown to the ground. The umpire says it was held to him, and the ball will be thrown up just outside the centre square. The Rovers scoring end, that is the airport end this afternoon. Towns player lucky enough to get it out of that passage of play, goes to the outer side. There's Josh Simpson once again, gets it to a teammate. Down the wing they go. Rovers can set something up here if they just steady the ship. It looks like it is. Rovers get it to Denton. Denton sends it inboard. Gee, that was a beautiful kick. And Peter, you wouldn't even have to ask who had the ball then, but Denton, and it was just a beautiful precision kick. Comes inboard. And I think it's Clay Acevedo again, is it?
Yeah, it is,
Clay Acevedo takes a nice mark. It was almost a slips catch, actually, the way the ball came in. So Clay Acevedo kicking toward the airport end is going to nullify perhaps the goal that was just scored by Towns moments ago. No reason to speak of here this afternoon. Clay Acevedo, in he goes toward the airport end, as I said. It's got enough height, accuracy, not good enough. It drops short into the goal square it goes. Can it be soccered through? Towns will run it through. No, Rowan Farris right on the boundary line. One would think that he'd want to play it through, and he does. And they get out of jail, Glenn.
As he brings it in for Towns, but it opens the gate now for Rovers. They send the ball quickly forward. Delton Jones, and sensational mark there.
I wonder who that was.
And it's Acevedo, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's enjoying his opportunities up forward today. Farron Parfitt sort of warned that he was ready to break open.
He got up pretty high then. I wonder if Rowie was here to take that today, Glenn.
Yes, so Clay Acevedo shooting on goal from point blank range. He's only metres out from goal, and Clay has already kicked a couple, and he'll add to that tally, I would think, from there, and he does. That's his third goal of the afternoon. Rovers get their ninth on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard. Rovers are 9 goals, 12. They lead Towns 1 goal straight as we quickly go around the grounds with thanks to the City of Greater Geraldton and Lara Dalton, the member for Geraldton. It is half-time out at Mazzucchelli Oval at Naboo, and Brigade 7-3-45 lead Chapman Valley 4-7-31. It's also half-time at Warren Taylor Homes Recreation Ground. And Northampton 9-6-60 lead Railways 5-4-34.
Ball back in the middle, the last goal by the Demons, 9-12. They lead Towns just the one goal, thanks to Chapman Road Dental Clinic. This quarter brought to you by Melissa Price, the member for Durack. As we head toward the halftime break, Rovers have a commanding lead, to say the least. That's an understatement here at the moment. But one would see that coach Incombin would hope that they keep the pressure on going into the second half of this round of fixtures in the GNFL. The ball goes away now of Towns. Towns out of the middle quickly as they send it into the half-forward area. Dalton Jones tries to run onto it. His opposite number is quicker, tries to knock it forward, but then they come off the half-back line to the Demons. But set upon by the defence for, I should say, the forward players for Towns, who are desperate to get another score on the board as they kick it up into the silhouette of the sun. The silhouette of players, I should say, in front of the sun, and the ball comes off hands and spills through. No, it's gone out of bounds, I think. Not through for a point. So the ball will be... Let's see, be thrown in deep attack now for Towns. Can they get another major on the board before half time? Putting on a bit of pressure, which is good to see. So the ball about to be coming in now from the city end. In it comes now. Players setting themselves. Up they go. Goes away that young Simmons once again. He's the only goal scorer for Towns. Working very hard, and the umpire says no opportunity for anyone there, boys. And I'll throw it up once again. In the shadows of the Towns goals, can they get another score? Working hard are the Bulldogs as the ball goes the way now of a Rovers player who was dealt with, and it comes out of defence for the Demons. But not a good kick as they kick it the way now of Simpson. Simpson has to beat two, but he does that. Down the wing it comes now and goes away of Scott, who's having a good game.
That's interesting. Rovers really have been very efficient in this quarter. Although Towns have probably played better, Rovers have kicked 5 goals, 3 in this quarter. In the first quarter, Rovers kicked 4 goals, 9. So
good
they had
mark.
some 13 scoring shots as Rowan Farris takes another sensational grab just in front of our Radio Mama broadcast box. Rowan Farris knocking himself out, getting kicks this afternoon. Big kick back up towards half forward. Rovers have the numbers. Have they got the class to win the ball forward again? They usually do. Goes the way of Chris Scott. He tries to keep the ball in, but the ball goes out of bounds, so another boundary throw in. So efficiency around goal. Rovers have improved just by kicking accurately. They've had a far more productive quarter than they did. They have certainly had some scoring opportunities, some 21 scoring shots to 1. So it's fair to say that Towns are lucky to be anywhere near that margin at the moment, as it's picked up again by the Towns player there in Aiton Mason. He kicks it up towards forward, but there's all Rovers there. Picked up by the player then, Kobe Simpson. He's taken his third out, his half back. Gets the ball by hand out towards centre wing and finds a teammate there in Prosser. Ball goes up the field. Big pack around the ball. Umpire's picked out a free kick. It'll go the way of a Towns player who had the ball.
He's playing fantastic.
Rowan Farris was tackled high. So, yeah, Rowan Farris, you would hate to see the scoreline if Rowan wasn't out there. Rowan Farris gets the kick forward. Almost a good mark to the Towns player, but he couldn't hang on to it. Picked up now by the player there in Prosser. Goes by hand to the hard-running Simpson, Josh Simpson on this occasion. Simpson waits. Ball comes back towards the player there in Prosser. Gets it further forward, but only as far as Drew Forrester. He kicks it back. Goes the way of Marquis. Marquis gets a handball, but it's picked up now by Rovers' Dalton Jones. Jotens tries to get a quick little pass over towards Bo Simpson.
Goal.
Picked up now by the Rovers player. Gets it forward, and it's marked by Stuart Egan. And Stewie Egan can line up for his third goal of the afternoon. He's only 10 metres out on a 45-degree angle.
Beautiful kick by Bo Simpson.
It certainly was. So Stuart Egan will get his third and spread the margin even further. Egan kicking to the airport end. There goes the kick. Looks pretty good off the boot. He gets his third of the afternoon. And on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard, Rovers go to 10 goals, 12, 72. They lead Towns 1 goal straight. So it's been a very powerful quarter from Rovers. Despite the efforts of Towns, Rovers have started to get their radar on and are kicking more effectively and more efficiently in front of goal. And the margin is starting to blow out very, very quickly.
Towns
here.
are battling away, aren't they, Glenn? I mean,
Yeah.
Rowan Farris is almost best on ground.
Yeah.
Obviously, Josh Simpson is a class out, but I've never seen a guy work harder.
No.
And he hasn't got a lot of help, but they're battling away.
No, there's nothing wrong with their endeavour. They certainly give it their best, but they're just outclassed. It's just the cream has rose to the top, as it always does generally. and they're enjoying their workout here this afternoon. And this may be a turning point for Rovers, although they're, people would say they haven't got a lot to beat. They're still working their game out well, and their performance winning the ball forward. It's certainly a good spear forward, or good momentum forward as they head towards the latter half of the year.
Yeah, putting a lot of pressure on other Demons, which is good to see. And Coach Combat will be happy about that. Bit of a not such a good performance last week against Mullawar. He would think the ball going forward now for Towns, but the last line of defence, beautiful mark, is taken by Jamie Greer. Usually figures predominantly, hasn't had to do much this afternoon. One of the great defenders in the GNFL. There's not much of him, but he certainly knows what to do as it goes away of Simpson now. Gets it away to Scott. The great calls in GNFL football for the Rovers Football Club. Scott sends into the half-forward area. Going away now of Bo Simpson. He goes one way, then the other. Gets to a teammate. That's the youngster. He sends it in. What I'm talking about, Kane Simpson. Comes back to Bo Simpson. He's almost caught in possession, but the ball is off inside the Towns. They get out of jail again, do Towns, as they kick it to the outer side. But options are few as they send it forward, but they find them as a nice mark is taken up ground by Ben's Fenn. Now switches play. Up they go, a couple of players. Up the sides eventually goes the way of Delton Jones. A beautiful kick into the full forward area, and the mark is taken by the new player in. In fact, it's not a new player. It's Tom Collins, who was at Rovers. Then he went back to Towns. Then he's back at Rovers again. So Tom Collins, right behind him, then he's kicking toward the airport end in front of the scoreboard. A handy lead. 10-12 plays the one straight goal for Towns. So Tom Collins, he'll go short. Gee, player all in his lonesome, and it is the player there to take the mark. Now, can he score? That's the thing. I've been giving him a bit of a hard time here this afternoon, and Jack Eastoff, he's not the most accurate, but surely, Pete, he can nail this one.
Well, Jeff Ferguson used to nail him from here, didn't he? Darren Ryan.
Yep.
So Jack Eastoff shooting on goal. The West Coast Eagles. West Coast have the ball in both the waffle and in the AFL, the way things are going at the moment. There goes the kick from Jack Eastoff, showing he doesn't play in the forward line very much for the West Coast. He's in the action because he plays in the defence for the West Coast waffle side.
Well, not many of the West Coast players get opportunities like that, Clint.
No, they do not. The ball goes forward, goes from Drew Forrester, brings the ball back into play. Once again, it's picked up and roved by Rowan Farris. Farris kicks it from half back to swing. Six. We're the home of GNFL football. Today. Stay tuned to the home of GNFL football.
Technology is a deadly way to stay connected to our community and learn more about the world. But sometimes people say or do racist or hateful things online. This is called hate speech. Racism and hate speech online is just as bad as saying it in person. Remember, there's always something you can do about it. If
43-45. Lead Chapman Valley 4-7-31. So in fact, Chapman Valley have had one more scoring shot than Brigades, but trail. And in the other game out at the recreation ground, Warren Taylor Holmes Recreation Ground, Northampton 9 goals, 660 lead Railways 5-4-34. So in that game, Northampton have had some 14 scoring shots and Railways have had 9. So a contest at all grounds today, except that this one, because Rovers have been very, very impressive, haven't they, Peter Keefe? And you've got to like the way they've gone about their work. Nothing wrong with the efforts of Towns, but just the class of Rovers.
Yeah, I think exactly. You hit the nail on the head there. The best player so far for Rovers, Josh Simpson's easily best on ground. Tom Denton, Clay Azevedo. And now I'd like to see Clay Azevedo play one-on-one out of the square and pull the pockets and half forwards up and give him a go on his own. That would be interesting. Chris Scott is playing really well as Bo Simpson. Farris has been brilliant for Towns. Very close following Josh Simpson, but DeLacy, Payden Mason, Tim George, kudos to the young fellow on the wing. I don't know much about him, whether he's Beast George's relation or something, but and Svensson and the ruck's working over time. But yeah, I just like to say, Rovers have really got to push on, I think, Glenn, and take the advantage. Don't take the foot off the pedal.
Gentlemen, we've just got a word in from AFL scores. It looks like Fremantle may be slipping away from their finals fortunes, trailing by some 30 points to get to Western Sydney.
Gee, that's not good. The ball comes forward now, and Towns might go forward again. And they went backwards to go forward. Eventually they give it to Marquis. He gets it over to a teammate in Mason. He gets it away to a teammate there in Cale Corlett. He gets it up towards the forward line. But out comes Kobe Simpson. Gives it away by hand. Goes the way there of the teammate there. And the ball goes out of bounds just in front of our Radio Mama broadcast box. We're into the third quarter, the Drennan O'Malley Motors quarter. So this is the premiership quarter, and it'll be interesting to see if Towns can stop the bleeding, because in that last quarter, Rovers added some 6 goals, 4, and Towns added 1 goal straight. So it was a very productive quarter for Rovers. Boundary umpire to put the ball back into play. The ruckman to get into position.
Don't get any closer to the action than you are now.
No, looking forward to it. Swenson and Curley. Curley gets the ball forward, comes back to player there, Chris Scott. He gets it out towards Tristan Simpson. Tristan Simpson's beautifully, picks it up towards full forward. Towns defence do well, knock the ball away. Towns have an opportunity to clear, and they do, and the Towns defender does very well. Gets it out here to Cale Corlett. He gets it on, and the kick comes up the ground. Looking there for Payden Mason. Mason keeps the ball in cleverly. Payden Mason gets a big kick up towards half forward. Almost a good mark to the Towns player. Svensson does well, uses his body to good effect. Swenson gets it up towards half forward. Towns player there, faithful, couldn't pick up the ball. Towns player in Arthur Garland appeared to be held while not in possession, but Rovers mop up, and the ball comes back the way of Payden Mason in this third quarter.
Just in front of our forecast position, Mason takes the mark. He sends it inboard now. Towns steadying the ship somewhat. They trail on the scoreboard by a huge margin. 6 up against 73, the Demons, here at Greenough Oval. The ball coming inboard now. Free kick going the way of Towns. 50-metre penalty because the Rovers player touched the ball when he shouldn't have. So we could see another major coming up as we see. Is it Josh DeLacy that's got the ball? He's coming down into scoring area, and he sees a nice lead. Player all in his lonesome.
Good kick too.
Yeah, it was a nice kick. And the mark is taken in scoring distance now at the airport end. So Towns, it looks like it might be young Simpson again, is it? James Simmons, I should say. So James Simmons, he's already got 1 goal. He does the old flicking the grass into the air. I wonder who he learned that from. The bloke that done that wouldn't have been playing before this guy was born. So he comes now.
As long as he doesn't start eating it.
James Simmons, straight through the middle. Yeah, he scored his 2nd goal of the afternoon. The young boy from Dongara scores again for Towns. That is 2 straight goals, and they still trail Rovers 10 goals 13.
Peter, that's the third 50 metre. Now, I know you're playing Towns and you're well in front, but if they don't get some of this discipline under control when you hit the finals, I know
Yeah.
they're only little ticky-tack twits. They're nothing really ominous, but
Yeah, not ideal, is it?
if you play Brigades in grand final and give away 3 or 4
But that
50s,
that 50 there, Pete, if you go back to when it happened, it was a miss. The young fella came in, Townsend. He thought it was a Rovers kick, and he went to pick the ball up.
I've got
Yes, yeah. So it
All
wasn't it wasn't disciplinary.
I'll give him that
problem. Not young Townsend. He's a good boy.
I don't want to get punched out in the Rovers change room, so I'll be careful.
5 minutes gone in this third term. Drennan O'Malley Motors game day. Drennan O'Malley Motors Coulter. Dylan Cooley knocks the ball forward. Picked up by Callum Marquis, has been good this afternoon. Ball comes to ground. Umpire has the ball held to him. You touched on Payden Mason earlier, Peter, and he came over from Brigades a couple of years ago to get more opportunities. He didn't get as many opportunities as he thought he should be getting at Brigades, but to his credit, he's come over to Towns and working really hard, and is one of their better players these days.
Absolutely. You get an opportunity if it presents itself, and you're going to be there all the time. You can prove your game.
The ball comes the way of Curley, goes it further afield, gives it to Tristan Simpson. Tristan Simpson in the centre of the ground, sets it up high, looking he couldn't mark the ball. Well done by Towns' defence, but player there held on. Towns will get the Hoffhammer has the ball. He's on the backward side of the square. Kicks a shocker. Puts his teammate under pressure. In goes the player there, and Jack Eastoff feeds the handball out. Goes back towards Eastoff. A handball there from Sean Brennan. Back goes Tristan Simpson. But he finished it off beautifully, and well done to him as the scoreboard rolls over for Drennan O'Malley Motors and the Chapman Road Dental Clinic. Rovers 11-13-73. Towns 2 goals struck off.
Hello to Ron O'Malley, if he's listening. So to Rachel and John Moore, if they are listening in this afternoon. Of course, Drennan O'Malley Motors, great supporters of GNFL football and us here at Radio Mama. Ball back in the middle now. Rovers have scored again, and on the scoreboard they have an awesome score at the moment, 11-13-79, leading Towns just the 2 straight goals, 12. Ball back in the middle, as I mentioned. Curley, he's been winning the ruck all day. As it goes to ground, on top of that is the JJ Clune medalist in Chris Scott. He bottles up the ball with his opposite number in Mason, and the umpire decides to grab it again. So up they go, players setting themselves. It hasn't gone far away from the centre, coming out the way of Denton now, but the Towns player is quicker in front of him, gets it to a teammate, just trying to hold into the full forward area, and a nice mark is taken down there. They can set something up. I think it's Mason who has it. Adam Mason puts it onto his boot. He sends it in toward the full forward area. It's a nice kick inside the goal.
So he might have been playing for touch. He kicked the ball out of bounds, so the boundary umpire to throw the ball in the left forward pocket, airport end, on the left-hand side of the game, of the ground. Picked up now by Rovers in defence. They bring the ball out, trying to get it up towards the centre of the ground, looking there for Tom Collins. In goes Chris Scott. Can he pick it up? He puts a handle on it now, then he can't handle it. Goes back towards the Towns player who does well. The player in not Tom Collins, Matty Russell. Matty Russell gets the ball forward, only as far as the Towns player. Picked up now by Towns. They shoot on goal. Simmons has got it, and umpire is going to pay it, and Simmons has got a goal. Now there's a bit of push and shove.
what we touched on before, Peter Glenn, the Mason boys, Will Faithful, this young guy on the wing, 13, Tim George. This is the future of Towns, and they're battling away, and it's good to see.
The youngest man on the ground scoring 3 goals today, which is pretty. Scoreboard hasn't picked that up yet, but the ball coming out in the middle now to Simpson. It's Tristan Simpson. Gets it away now to Denton. Denton sends it inboard now, running onto it is Chris Scott. He's got a bit of room here. He'll run right into an open goal, and he does. Chris Scott scores another goal for the Demons, nullifying the last goal by Towns, and Rovers are on a roll.
Goal. Who kicked that one? Scott. Chris Scott. So Chris has got his second of the afternoon. So they're lining up to kick goals, which we thought would be, but they haven't spread them. They've shared them between 5 players at this point. Looking at the goal scorers for Rovers, Josh Simpson has 3, Claze Azevedo has 3, Stuart Egan has 3, 2 to Chris Scott, and 1 to Farron Huffett. As the scoreboard rolls over on the Hello Dental Clinic scoreboard, and another goal to Rovers sees their score go to 12 goals, 13.85, and Towns are 3 goals straight, 18.
As you touched on, Peter, Dylan Curley's starting to win the ruck quite comfortably. The bloke Svensson works hard. He's a big body and he's having a crack. But Dylan's just got a bit more natural ability.
He's got a pretty ugly leap on him, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, sometimes you got to play ugly. I did it for 20 years.
He can get up into the air, can Dylan Curley, that's for sure. He'd be just 6'1" at that, I think. So he's a bit of a Stephen Michael S. Greenough are doing the job on Towns this afternoon as Curley wins it once again into the half-forward area. Scott running onto it, or does he? Coming out to collect it is Simpson. Eventually goes away with Azevedo, like his game this afternoon. He's got some nice into the half-forward area, running on Sportshed today as part of our football promotion of the GNFL, and that's Farron Puffett. He's the captain of the Rover Football Club, but still out of his hands and over the boundary in front of the Rovers faithful. Glenn, be happy with what they're seeing today.
They certainly are out with great, and also are a member for Durrell Oval at Nabwa, and Brigade's broken open the game now. Brigade's 11-11. 77 lead Chapman Valley 6-10-46. So Brigade starting to get ahead of Chapman Valley now. 16 scoring shots to 21, and it's reflecting on the score.
10 points for Chapman Valley.
defender because he's played a lot of football on the half-back line, but fancies himself as a forward in his latter years, he's saying.
Well, as you get older, forward line's a lot easier. You'd think so. This, on that, Pete, I just keep banging on about it, but Tom Denton's delivery every time is AFL standard. You know, I haven't seen a guy kick the football as good as that for a long, long time.
He's got a beautiful kick on him, has Tom Denton, of course, one of a couple of JJ Clune medalists out there on the ground this afternoon. Up in the air, that ball goes once again. It's knocked down by the big fella for Rovers, and I'm talking about a player there that knocks it forward, and Jesse Ryan. The ball goes away of Towns now at the half-back line. They switch play to the outer side, the Horwood Road side of the ground. Indiscriminately goes through a host of players, comes off hands and spills over the boundary once again. The scoreline, if you've just joined us, Rovers a handy lead, 13-13. Almost a cricket score, 13-13, 86. They lead Towns 3 straight goals, 18. Of course, the Ashes are on in earnest in the UK, Glenn, and, England off to a fairly good start.
They certainly are. They made 393, I think it was, and then they sent Australia in with 20 minutes to play, and Australia not out none for 14, so it's going to be a very, very exciting day again, starting shortly around 6 o'clock. The first ball of the day will be bowled.
Ball coming in now. Rovers able to go forward once again through Simpson. That's Josh Simpson, been a bit quiet in the middle stages of the game and misses all in sundry and kicks it out on the full on that occasion. A bit of pressure from the Towns players there, and the ball will be brought back in by Towns just in front of the canteen here at Greenough Oval.
You're right, Pete. He has faded a little bit in this last.
He has,
10,
but he hasn't
minutes,
probably had to. He's probably waxing with some other players that have stepped up.
Denton's picked up, and Azevedo has as well. He's come up. Seems to have come up the half forward. Do you think, Pete?
Exactly. Azevedo takes a mark as you speak and sends it inboard down to the middle of the ground. This little speedster does okay, and O'Brien sends it further afield to Collins. Collins can't take the mark. Will he get it on the second attempts? Coming through the mud. He's quickly set upon. Tries to get it to a teammate. 6 and 7s as it goes to ground. Towns do the better as it comes away of Farris. He's got good hands. He comes laterally out to the broadcast side. Finds a bit of space for a teammate, but the ball runs all too quickly over the white line.
Looking at three-quarter time scores in the games around the grounds with thanks to the City of Greater Geraldton and Lara Dalton, the member for Geraldton. At three-quarter time at the Warren Taylor Homes Recreation Ground, Northampton in control, 14 goals 9 to Railway, 6 goals 5. And out at Mazzucchelli Oval at Nabua, Brigades 12-8, 80. Chapman Valley 5 goals 10, 40. So I can tell you that Northampton, Brigades and Rovers are going to be winners in round 7.
Chris Scott just ran into an open goal, Glenn.
So that's his third of the afternoon.
What is his his third or fourth, Glenn?
It could be his fourth, but I've got him down for 3, but that doesn't mean that he...
Oh, that's right.
No, 3. Yep.
Not bad out of centre.
Not bad at all. He's really finished off well, haven't they? And like I said, they're not spreading the margin. Usually in a game like today, when you kick 14 goals, you probably have 7 or 8 or 10 goal scorers, but they've only shared them between 5. So looking at the goal scorers now, Stuart Egan, Chris Scott, Clay Azevedo and Josh Simpson all kicked 3 apiece, which is pretty handy, and Farron Parfitt has kicked 2.
So ball back in the middle now. Peter Forenza, Glenn Barton and Peter Bucket-Keefe with special comments in our broadcast. Pete, so good to have you in season 2023.
Well, thanks, Pete. Been out of it for a long time, coaching my kids, etc. So hopefully people don't mind putting up with my voice.
I think they'll enjoy the intel that you have. The ball coming up in the middle now. It goes. Rovers, do they have it? The Towns players quickly brought to ground. The umpire says, yep, caught in possession, and a free kick. It's Rovers player that was caught in possession. A free kick will go the way of the Towns custodian. Just backward of the centre square now. I'll go out to the Horwood Road side. The build-up from half-back isn't too bad for Towns, but it's when they get into the half-forward area that things start to become awry. They don't seem to have any focal point up there at all. So it's, Pete, a case of just keeping possession, isn't it?
Yeah, the young guys, Simmons and 22 Payden Mason, have been fantastic, those guys. Young guys working hard under duress, you know.
Whistle on play, umpire saying take the ball back, and the ball goes, and there's a ball coming up the ground, so a 50-metre penalty there given away by Towns. So Towns evening the score to some extent. So the free kick go the way of centre man in Josh Simpson. He feeds it out. Ooh. Not a very good handball, but the player wasn't ready for it. Perhaps Gear gives it away by hand. Goes the way of Jesse Ryan. Jesse Ryan kicks it up towards full forward. Young Josh DeLacy working hard, sees the ball across the boundary line, perhaps should have went across the boundary line, tried to keep it in. Rovers still a chance. Rovers have it deep in the forward pocket. Tom Collins, give it to Stuart Egan. Egan sets sail for home on his right foot. He squeezed it through to a minus score. And on the Rovers scoreboard, it rolls over for Chapman Road Dental Clinic. Rovers are 14 goals 14, 92. Towns are 3 goals straight.
Still playing in the third term here at Greenough Oval. The Demons have a hefty lead. They're going to be big winners here this afternoon in this round of GNFL fixtures. We'll have around the grounds for you, courtesy of Lara Dalton MLA and also the City of Greater Geraldton presently with Glenn Barnden. But the ball on the half-back line now with Towns. Just in front of the Rovers club rooms now, and there'll be smiles all around as they celebrate a special day here at Greenough Oval, Cancer Awareness Day, the third year in a row. Towns play kicks into the man on the mark, comes off hands and spills over the boundary. So this game is certainly starting to open up, Pete, and probably Towns starting to feel it a little bit now.
Yeah, I think so. One thing I said before, I'd like to see Azevedo play out of the screen on his own. He's very good goal sense, and it's just a little bit crowded at times, and I'd like to see him... here he is now.
Here he is now. Josh Simpson sends it in.
So it's 19. Who's that young fella?
That number 19 is the youngster in Jesse Ryan, a new player in the lineup. So he's been in the ruck as well. So Jesse Ryan will have a shot on goal, so we don't know how he kicks, but he's only about 35 metres out on a very slight angle, kicking toward the city end. So he's kicking into the sun, so always difficult here at Greenough Oval.
So Rovers have been very efficient. They've only kicked goals this quarter.
Jesse Ryan misses. Yep, through for the minor score.
What is that for?
So, yeah, there he goes. Rovers have kicked 4 goals, 1 for the term. Towns have kicked 2 goals straight as we go around the grounds with thanks to the City of Greater Geraldton, Lara Dalton, the member for Geraldton. And we can tell you that Brigades at three-quarter time, 12-8-80, lead Chapman Valley 5 goals, 10-40. And at the recreation ground, Northampton, 14 goals, 9-93, lead Railway 6-5-41. So the game is in the balance nowhere at the moment because the sides expected to win are going to win. We're in this third term. Drennan O'Malley Motors quarter. 93 plays 18 here at Greenough Oval in this third quarter. And Rovers are shooting on goal again, right on the boundary line. A very difficult shot from here.
Simpson.
It's
Simpson.
Bo, is it? Yeah. Yep. So let's see how he goes. It'd be a very good goal, but we've seen Rovers players kick some magical goals today, and that looks pretty good off the boot, but not good enough. It's offline, 1 point only. So the scoreboard for Chapman Road Dental Clinic, Rovers are 14 goals, 15, 94. They lead Towns 3 goals straight. So it's going to be another premiership victory for Rovers this afternoon, and we can almost call the premiership table for today after round 7. If Northampton go on and win, they will remain on top with 24 premiership points. Brigades will be second with 20 premiership points. Railways will be third with 12 premiership points. Rovers will go to probably third with their Rovers will be third with 16, and outside the 4 we have Chapman Valley, Mullawar and Towns. So Rovers go up and Railways just hanging in there, and next weekend will be a great clash between Chapman Valley and Railways. It may be for the 4th spot. You see the ball go forward there from Farron Parfitt, spears it in towards half forward where he finds Tristan Simpson, and Tristan is 35 metres out, almost directly in front, kicking into the sun, kicking to the city end of Greenough Oval. So Tristan Simpson, can he add to the goal tally for Rovers this afternoon? He says, yes, coach Ian Common, I want to play up forward. And Tristan Simpson gets his first of the afternoon. And they've had a very productive quarter, have the Rovers team. And on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard, Rovers go to 15 goals, 15, 100. They lead Towns 3 goals straight, 18.
You're listening to Radio Mumma, the home of GNFL football. And this is a special round for the Rover Football Club. It is a cancer awareness round, and the Demons players wearing pink, and that pink is doing a lot of work this afternoon and seeing quite a bit around the goal square as Rovers have an unassailable lead on the scoreboard thanks to Chapman Road Dental Clinic. It is Rovers 15-15. They lead Towns just the 3 straight goals. And incidentally, the 3 goals, Pete, by Towns, by the youngest fella on the park.
It's got all 3. Well, good on him. Well done.
He's had a good day out, as young James Simmons. So the ball back in the middle now as we head toward the final crossover here, the final chapter. The umpire brings it in. May take a little while because a lot of goals have been scored by the Demons. So extra time. The ball thrown up now. Players setting themselves. Rovers, they get it out of the middle once again. Goes away Vazavato. He's playing in the middle now. He's playing everywhere. A beautiful kick into the full forward area. Up they go. The mark was almost taken by Egan. He drops it to ground. He move a couple of players. Egan is unlucky too. He moves in. In two goes a couple of players. One of them is Denton. He's unable to collect the ball. The Towns players dive on top of it, trying to bottle it up. And in fact, they receive a free kick out of it. So working hard in defence, not giving up, are the young Demon, I should say the young Bulldog defenders.
So the defence has worked hard. They've been under a lot of pressure, to say the least, this afternoon. Whistle on play. A player was interfered with going for that mark, and he'll get the resultant free kick. That's young Kyan Townsend. No, maybe not. Ball goes forward. Goes the way there of the player there, and Jake Chapman it was the player that got the ball forward. And of course Towns have got the ball. They're going across the ground, opens the gate up a little bit. Ball comes out, picked up there by the young Towns player, gets the boot forward. Good courage taken by that young player. Towns, George gets the ball forward, gets it up the ground, looking up there for Brenton Marsh, but he couldn't handle the ball, and it comes back. In goes Rovers. Rovers do well through Jack Eastoff. Stands his ground, puts it on his left boot, and he picked out a player there in Jesse Ryan who couldn't mark the ball. Ball comes back towards Jack Eastoff. Jesse Ryan trying to get a handle on it. In goes Rovers player, didn't appear to have the ball, and that's the way the other seen it. But there's the siren. It's three-quarter time at the football. Dredden O'Malley Motors game day, and Rovers in control. Rovers 15-100 lead Towns 3 goals straight, 18. And you're tuned to Radio Mama, the home of GNFL football.
Today's drink.
City of Greater Geraldton, and Lara Dalton, the member for Geraldton. For Rovers, Stuart Egan has 3, Chris Scott has 3, Clay Azevedo 3, Josh Simpson 3, 2 to Farron Parfitt, and Tristan Simpson 1. And James Simmons had a really good day out, the young man, with 3 goals. Looking at our better players and contenders for the Skeeters Restaurant Player of the Day, Peter Keefe, who do you think?
I think Denton and Scott really came to the fore then, and young Curley's playing well. Josh Simpson faded a little, but I just really want to give a bit of credibility to some of these young Towns guys who are working overtime. Simmons, Payden Mason, young George, Tim George on the wing.
Yep.
He's got some ability, this young kid. I'll find out who he is and what his breeding is.
Magnet boy, I think.
Oh, yeah. So he's a George from out there, yep. Rowan Fast working hard. He's 100 years old, but he's still going strong. Josh Trelacy's working hard. Azevedo's starting to show a little bit. He's really starting to produce, but just to box on, Towns.
We're into the final quarter in our match of the day. Umpire Stephen Pratt puts the ball into the air. This final turn, with thanks to GT Russell Chartered Accountants, umpires picked out a free kick. It'll go the way of Towns, and Towns will be able to go forward again. And Payden Mason is the player with the ball. Payden Mason goes out wide, looking out to the Hallwood Road side of the ground, looking for some movement. But Rovers' Jamie Gear is there, the defender, puts it on his boot, kicks it up the ground, but he is offline. Ball goes out of bounds, and there'll be a boundary throw in on centre wing, out of side. Boundary umpire to put the ball back into play. 105 plays 18 in our match of the day for Drennan O'Malley Motors and GT Russell Chartered Accountants on Radio Mama. As the ball comes back into play, Towns have it again. Can Towns keep the pressure up? George is there again, goes by hand, looking for a teammate. That teammate is DeLacy. DeLacy, big kick up towards centre, up towards half forward, but the ball goes out of bounds, and the ball will be brought back in by the Rovers club on this occasion, and Rovers get the resultant free kick.
A winter sun-drenched Greenough Oval here this afternoon. A big crowd in attendance to see Demons have a big win. Early stages of the final term as the ball comes across the ground now, picked up by Townsend. Townsend, the Narkle lookalike, puts it into space now. Running onto it is Collins. Collins spins around now, sends it into the half-forward area. Up they go. Almost a mark is taken by the Rovers speedster, but picked up by Farris now. Farris goes one way, then the other, gives it back to a teammate. It comes down the ground, and a nice mark is taken down the ground by Cale Corlett. Now Corlett, just in front of our broadcast position, looking into the sun, kicking toward the city end of Greenough Oval in the final term of Towns, sends it further afield. Almost the mark is taken by Greer. Gee, there's not much of him, but he is a tough hombre, is Jamie Greer.
Come on, Michael.
The ball will come back. Jamie Greer, the recipient of a free kick off the half-back line. Greer, he goes laterally now into the middle of the ground, finds that player in Scott. Scott's everywhere this afternoon, as we heard from Peter Bucket Keefe. Probably, just one of the better players on the ground this afternoon, along with Dent, and the ball on the far side with Rovers now. Can they set something up into the half-forward area? Coming out is Clay Azevedo. He's been good too this afternoon. Gets through a couple of players. A beautiful handball inboard. Puts his teammate under a lot of pressure because it's all Towns, but it goes back the way of the player there for Rovers, who did pretty well on that occasion in Easthoff, and sends it forward under a lot of pressure. And the mark is taken by Farron Parfitt. So Farron Parfitt's got 2 goals this afternoon. Glenn, I reckon he's going to have 3 because he's only about 15 to 20 metres out, directly in front at the airport end. Farron Parfitt puts it straight through the middle, and that is the 16th goal of the afternoon. Rovers go to 16-15, and they lead Towns just the 3 goals.
He's very clean, isn't he, Farron? He doesn't get a hell of a lot of it, but when he does get it, usually ends up as a goal.
Yeah, it's probably ended up with 3 or 4. Well, he's got 3, so he could probably end up with 4 or 5 before the end of the day.
And he hasn't been dominant, but he's been there,
And that's the thing, being efficient around goals. Rovers were a bit messy early on. I guess, they were 10 goals, 13 at half-time, but to their credit, they've added 5 goals. They've added 7 goals with only 3 points. So they've done all right. So they've really become more efficient and effective. Probably the pressure may have gone off a little bit as they go towards goal. Ball back in the centre. Umpire Brian Cohen to throw the ball into the air. Dylan Curley to do the rucking. Does it well. Gets it out front again. Picked up again by Tommy Denton. Tommy Denton breaks across the centre square. Kicks it up towards full forward. Players running free. Can Rovers get a quick goal again? Towns player does well. Tackled. Thrown to the ground. Umpire says play on, comes back towards Stuart Egan. Egan gets a handball forward, and the Towns defence slaps the ball towards the boundary line, and that was the youngster there in Jake Chapman who saw the ball to the boundary line just next to the scoreboard, which reads Rovers 16-15 111, Towns 3 goals straight 18. Boundary umpire to put the ball back into play. And I was just thinking, with a margin like this, you'd think the cars would be leaving the ground. They would be if they were at an AFL game. They'd have half left, but there's everyone still here enjoying the beautiful weather and enjoying the effort. Although Towns, as you've mentioned, Peter, a number of times today, a little bit outclassed, but you can't take anything away from the young team. They work hard and they give it their best, and that's all their spectators and anyone can ask, isn't it?
They just haven't got the cattle, and that's just, there's always going to be someone on the bottom. And if you look at Port Adelaide 7 or 8 years ago, they nearly disbanded as a club. Carlton's the same. You know, you've got to work with what you've got.
The ball on the half-back line now for Towns. Below the scoreboard, which sees a hefty lead in front of them by the Demons. Going up is Jamie Greer. He's come right down the ground as a defender. Got a couple to beat just in front of our broadcast position. You can hear the whistles, you can hear the players, you can hear the action here on Radio Mama, the home of GNFL football. The scoreboard reading 16-15. That's not a date, that is a score. And at 16-15 plays 3 straight goals as Rovers go forward once again now into the half-forward area, going the way now of Farron Parfitt. He knocks it through a couple of players, goes to a teammate, is quickly set upon. That player is Scott. So Scott has picked up a lot of possessions today, but Glenn, it could be one of his last couple of games because he's going overseas, you believe.
Yeah, he doesn't miss any games for Rovers.
Oh,
he just misses Country Week.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So he'll be available straight away. He's just having a couple of weeks away over the winter break when Country Week and Rovers have a bye on the other side of Country Week, so he's been able to squeeze in a
nice
couple of
kick
weeks
by
break.
Curley into the full forward area.
It's been impressive, hasn't he, Peter? Dylan Curley today.
And this Azevedo's taken another mark bucket, so Clay Azevedo, he's turning into a pretty good goal sneak. You don't see too many good goal sneaks these days because of the type of football that we play, but he's got a good grab on him, he's got a good leap, good size and a good kick. So here he goes now. Clay Azevedo looks pretty good off the boot, straight across the face of goal and through, unfortunately, for the minor score.
On the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard, Rovers are 16 goals, 16, 112. They lead Towns 3 goals straight, 18. In other games, Brigades are on the way to a victory with a 40-point margin at three-quarter time, and Northampton on the way to a win. They lead by 52 points at three-quarter time. So we turn our attention to what happens next weekend. And Radio Mama, the home of GNFL football, will be at the MND Big Freeze out at Mazzucchelli Oval next weekend. Chapman Valley and Railway, so that'll be a big clash for both those clubs.
Farron Parfitt scores another goal.
So another good goal to Farron. So Farron's, like I said, he's lining up to kick goals now. Other games next weekend, Brigades host Rovers at GBSC Sports Park, which will be a very entertaining game as well. And another big game up at Mullawar. Mullawar play Towns at Mullawar Oval, so evenly matched contest next weekend. All very good games. And
where'd you say we're going, Glenn?
We're going to Chapman Valley playing Railways at the Mazzucchelli Oval.
Is that the big freeze?
It is the big freeze.
Are you going to freeze, Glenn?
I've done my share. I went down.
Bucket could do the freeze, couldn't he?
Geez, I'd like to see me in a pair of bathers.
So
we'll just dress you up as your alter ego, mate.
We've got a full-time score from the game out at Mazzucchelli Oval, and full-time it is Brigades 15 goals 12 have defeated Chapman Valley 6 goals 11, so a good win there again to the Hawks this afternoon.
So a lot of the clubs working hard for special causes. Rovers here today for Cancer Awareness Day or round, and next week the big freeze. Glenn, of course, raising money for Motor Neuron.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of special guests there. I think D. Margetts is going to be the umpire for the day, which is very exciting, and also there is a number of other key people involved that will be flying the flag for MND on the day.
The ball in the half-forward area. Beautiful kick in by Denton once again. Goes the way of Parfitt. What's he done? It's come off hands. Almost scored another goal.
Would have been good.
So Parfitt in the dying stages is starting to even out as one of the better players on the park for the Demons this afternoon. Stats-wise, the ball coming out of defence. Now there's Parfitt once again. The youngster for Towns working hard. Parfitt and another player beat him as he goes inboard now and selfishly gives it away to a teammate. That teammate is Egan. Egan is misfooted though, gives it back to Denton. Denton onto his boot, kick. Sends it across the ground, and it's marked by none other than Josh Simpson. So Josh Simpson now, he's been quiet in the middle stages of this game, but as we've probably alluded to, Pete, he has waxed with other players that have stepped up.
Yeah, well, it's a bit hard to know. The Simpson boys have had a fair bit of it all day, haven't they? You know, so he was dominant the first half, just faded, but yeah, he did what he had to do, I guess.
So Josh Simpson kicking for, I think, his third goal of the afternoon, is it, Glenn, if he gets this one?
Josh has kicked 3.
Yeah, well, number 4 he's going for. So Josh Simpson kicking toward the airport end. Looks pretty good off the boot. The goal umpire doesn't move because it's straight through the middle. And that is another goal to the Demons. And it is raining goals here in Greenough Oval. And they are 18 goals, 17. They lead Towns 3 straight goals.
Yeah, we only played 7 minutes in this last quarter with thanks to GT Russell Chartered Accountants. So there's still a lot of time to play and a lot of scoring can be done. So we're waiting for the ball to be brought back to the centre. But Towns would like to see the ball and the siren come very, very quickly. There should be a mercy rule sometimes. But, Rovers kicking on. And Rovers have got a big opportunity next week. They take on the powerhouse at the moment, Brigades. And it'll be very entertaining. Northampton, who will go into the bye with another win, it would appear. So Northampton have the bye next weekend. And a very, very big week for Northampton. Northampton sitting clearly at the top of the premiership table.
Ball going forward now for Towns. Very few times it's done that today, but going back the way now of Collins for Rovers. He gets it to a teammate now who runs down the ground. He sees a player further afield. That player is Townsend. Townsend is at 6s and 7s. Eventually gets it to Azevedo. Azevedo, nice little handball, in-ball. Goes back the way of Townsend. He shoots on goal, and the youngster, well, he blazed away all too early and missed everything on the... it doesn't score, but the ball will be brought back in by the Towns defender now. So that was Prosser that figured in those passages of play, Glenn, and he's probably been a little bit quiet today too.
He has. I notice he's wearing a helmet again, so he may have had some concussion in recent times. So, of course, he's a former Towns player playing against his old club this afternoon. I think there's 3 or 4 former Towns players lining up for Rovers today.
Of course, Tristan Simpson had some great years with Towns before moving to Railways, didn't he?
That's right. But there's Delton Jones, there's also Tom Collins and Tom Denton.
Tom Denton,
yeah. So there's no shortage of Towns links to the Rovers club this afternoon.
Ball back in the middle now, and it's young Simmons who has it. Like his game this afternoon, the youngster kicks it to the outer side, to the Hallwood Road side of the ground. Who's there to collect it? It is the Rovers custodian. He sends it inboard now. Players setting themselves. Up they go. The mark isn't taken by the Rovers player. Goes to ground. Towns can get another goal on the board, can they? As they send it into the half-forward area. Players running onto it. The defence for Rovers is ensuring that they keep it in their keeping, but Towns are putting the pressure on as they keep it in their possession. Going to ground now in the mud is a Towns player, and the umpire says no prior opportunity. In fact, he was tackled a little high. So Towns will be the recipient of a free kick, and the free kick will be going the way of Matt Russell.
Well, kicked 3 straight, so he might get 4 straight.
So Matt Russell now, he's a little far out though. He'll kick it just inside the forward 50 when he gets onto this, but no breeze to speak of this afternoon, so it's not a factor. In comes Russell now. It's a nice kick. It's got a bit of distance. It's going to drop short and wayward too. And
on
through,
the full, in fact.
On the full, yes, in a few of those this afternoon.
Yeah, the breeze has just grabbed them at the end and taken them to the right-hand side of the point post, just near the old club rooms there, the old change rooms, as Rovers bring the ball back in. Goes the way of Josh Simpson. Simpson brings it up the ground, gives it the way of Sean Brennan. Brennan with a short pass goes the way of Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell gets the ball forward, gets it away there of the hard-running player, and Kieran Townsend. Kieran Townsend gets his ball forward. In fact, it's Townsend that wears the headgear, not Prosser. So, ball goes the way of Drew Forrester. Drew Forrester gets the ball forward. Ball slapped. Goes the way of Rovers player and Campbell again. Ball spills out. Comes the way of Towns and young Arthur Garlett. Garlett, a big kick up towards half forward. Looking there for some Towns power. Picked up there by the player in Cooper Jeffries. Jeffries shoots on goal. He's offline. 1 point only. And on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard, Towns go to 3 goals, 119. They trail Rovers 18 goals, 17, 125.
It appears as though Rovers have taken the foot off the pedal a bit, Pete, I think.
Yeah, they may have done so, but they're going to have a big win here this afternoon. And once you've shut shop a bit, when you've got a handy lead like this, you don't want to make it an opportunity for injuries, because Rovers go into a very important game next week, Len.
They certainly do. They are up against a very good side indeed, Brigades, and Brigades will be playing at home. They'll be at GBSC Sports Park. Next weekend, Muller will play Towns. Chapman Valley play at Mazzucchelli, play Railways at Mazzucchelli Oval, as we get a final score with thanks to the City of Greater Geraldton and the member for Geraldton and Lara Dalton. The game at Warren Taylor Homes Recreation Ground. Final score, Northampton 17-11 to Railways 8-6. So a good win there. A very strong win to the Northampton side, who sit clearly at the top of the premiership table after today. They have got 24 premiership points. Brigades with their win over Chapman Valley have 20 points. Rovers with their win fit in third spot with 16 points. Railways just hanging on to the 4 at the moment. They are 12 premiership points. Just outside the 4 we have Chapman Valley on 8 points and Mullawar on 4, and Towns yet to open their account.
Railways next week. Railways Chapman Valley could be a danger game for Railways.
It's an important game, Pete. And it's interesting, isn't it, at different times in the season where a loss can be hurt you so dearly.
Absolutely.
Well, it's an important game. It's the final. The 4th spot may be up for grabs in that game, really.
But what I'm alluding to is how they've slipped in recent weeks. Railways, and as probably people thinking as finals contenders and almost slipping out of the 4.
Yeah, well, that big loss has really hurt them. And like next weekend, you've got 3 games where it could go either way. Now, Rovers on this form could possibly push Brigades next week. What do you think, Glenn?
Yeah, I think they certainly can at their very best, but Brigades seem to be very well oiled and very, very. I think Rovers, as you say, they probably could have buried Towns today, and they just don't do that at the moment.
Yeah,
have. But yeah, they're good enough on their day, and I think, as you've mentioned before, their top half a dozen players are very good. They're as good as any players going around. It's whether they have the depth overall. Whereas Brigades, even though they got a lot of young players, their young players are pretty special sort of young players, aren't they?
Yeah, they're well rounded. I was really surprised how good Brigades were last week.
And Brigades without Dylan Ralph too at the moment, and he was a super.
Well, that's
player.
going to be an interesting factor in the game next week, and of course. We're talking about Rovers and Brigades, and it was Brigades who probably went into as favourites into the grand final last year, Glenn, against the
That's right, exactly right. Ball comes forward again as Rovers try and slap the ball forward. In goes the player there for Towns, pushing the ball forward in Will Faithful. Will Faithful sees the ball towards the boundary line. Good tackle put on Farron Parfitt. He didn't have an opportunity to get rid of the ball, so the umpire will come and throw the ball in. So it's an 105-point margin at the moment. We're in the middle stages of this final term with thanks to GT Russell Chartered Accountants on Drennan O'Malley Motors Game Day.
Hello to Grant and Michelle. Of course, tax time coming up, Glenn.
Yes, so lots of people who would believe that we're into almost the end of the financial year. Just seems like the year has just started, but we're halfway through. Ball goes the way of the young man in Kane Simpson. Lot to like about him this afternoon. Kane gets the kick forward. Ball running free. Towns need to knock it through, and they do. And Towns force it through for another force behind. And on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard, Rovers are 18-18. They lead Towns 3-2. So 106 points the margin in favour of the Demons.
Yeah, heading to the latter stages of this round in the GNFL, and Rovers are going to come out with a really big win, a big percentage booster for the Demons. They often don't get a good percentage to the Demons, but I'll be happy about this one because it could be the buffer come finals time. The ball coming out now of the pack, going the way of Denton. Gee, as good as this fella. That's an understatement. He kicks it into the half-forward area. He's looking for Farron Parfitt. Doesn't find that player, or he does. But Parfitt can't collect the ball in time and takes it over the boundary.
Yeah, when you look at it, Peter, you're dead right. Rovers have got the worst percentage of anyone in the top 5, quite clearly. Today will help them. There's no doubt about that. But they needed this, and they're taking it on. And a big win will do their percentage all the world of good. Ball comes back into play. And Rovers trying to get the ball forward again. They're kicking to the airport end. Ball comes back. Towns players are working hard, and they're still trying hard. There's no doubt about that. Ball spills, goes the way of Simpson, and this time he runs into an open goal. Does Kobe Simpson. He gets on the goal-kicking train. Kobe Simpson gets his first of the afternoon. And as we've mentioned, the Rovers players have been kicking multiple goals. Kobe becomes a single goal scorer, along with his cousin Tristan, who's kicked 1. And the other major goal scorers for Rovers this afternoon, Farron Parfitt has kicked 4, Josh Simpson has kicked 4, Clay Azevedo has kicked 3, Chris Scott has kicked 3, and Stuart Egan has kicked 3.
And that is interesting, Pete and Glenn, because you talked about Brigades being a close match for Rovers next week. And last week, Pete, Brigades, they just had goal kickers from everywhere too, didn't they?
Absolutely. Guys running off half-back as well, in streams. So,
Brigades have got double the percentage that Northampton have got.
Is that right?
They've got a lot of goal scorers. they kick a lot of goals, and today they had a pretty comfortable win too, so their percentage will be very, very good indeed.
It'll be interesting to see who kicked the goals for Northampton today too.
Yes.
Ball out of the middle now. Denton, he goes again. He's been a workhorse this afternoon, probably BOG, but that's Pete's job, not mine. The ball coming out of the middle goes away now of a couple of players, and it's Rovers who have it through Scott. Ditto for him as being a good player too. Goes down the middle like a big gazelle, puts it onto his boot into the half-forward area. He's looking for a player up there, but Rowan Farris, the super stopper, stops it once again. The ball on the far side now, going back the way of Farris, gives it to a teammate and demands it back just below the windsock now. He kicks it down the Horwood Road side of the ground, and under pressure, a beautifully directed kick, and it finds the chest of a teammate. Playing on now, Towns. Can they get another goal on the board before the final siren? It comes down the way of this player. He kicked almost a big goal earlier on this afternoon, and I'm talking about Matt Russell. Russell now. The game slows down. It's a nice kick into the full forward area. They go up, but out he comes out of defence and takes a nice mark. So Stewie Egan playing at both ends of the ground. A likely character takes a nice mark. Sends it inboard and finds Simpson. Simpson now gets it to a teammate who plays on. In the middle of the ground, it's again goes the way of Chris Scott. Out on the wing, and Rovers are away, or are they? Another goal will really seal the deal. Or I suppose that's an understatement. Goes away of a player there in Greer. The defender shoots and scores for the Demons.
Good left foot goal.
Jamie Greer, one of the biggest, best defenders in the competition, scores a beauty for the Demons.
Well, that's what happens. Junk time, and people start lining up. We saw Simpson kick a goal a little while back. Young player there, and Kobe Simpson. Now we're seeing Jamie Gear kick one. So they're all lining up to get in the goal scoring now. Time ticking by in this last quarter. The game can't end quick enough for the Towns side. And just looking at how much time has gone, we have got we've played about 22 minutes, so still a little bit of time to go, but hopefully not too much for Towns' sake, as the scoreboard sees the scoreboard roll over for Rovers. Rovers have now kicked some 20 goals. Rovers 20 goals, 17. 138 on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard, leading Towns 3 goals to 20. So we've got 118 points to the margin. 100 and, yeah.
Not far off, mate.
No, back in the middle now. The ball coming out through a new player in the lineup. That he's also got a bit of a few kicks today. I don't know how long he's been playing for the Demons. Talking about the player there in Jesse Ryan.
He probably came up with Jack Eastop. He's probably a West Coast Eagles.
He probably is too. The ball going back the way now of Denton. Caught in possession. One of few indirect disposals by Denton today, and he frustrates himself as a professional player would, whacking the ground. The ball goes forward again, but is stopped by Chris Scott on the half-back flank. He sends it out toward Townsend now. Townsend will get a free kick, the youngster. He is, of course, college captain at Nagle Catholic College. Sends it inboard now, going the way of Prosser. Prosser, in turn, lace-out kick and finds Kobe Simpson.
Kobe Simpson wants to stay in the forward line, I think.
Yes, it's amazing how defenders all of a sudden...
Quite versatile for the Demons, the defenders, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they can be, and a very, very good player. Kobe Simpson lining up for goal. He's kicked one this afternoon. That was in this last quarter. So Kobe shooting from goal. He'll be 40 metres out, directly in front, kicking to the airport end. So he's trying to show Ian Coleman, this is where I should play all day, every day. And he's got it through. He gets his second. Rovers get their 21st on the Chapman Road Dental Clinic scoreboard. Rovers are 21 goals, 17. They lead Towns 3 goals, 2.
What's the biggest margin so far this year, Glenn?
There's been some massive margins. There's 175, I think.
Right,
was the biggest margin.
So we're not going to beat that, but 124.
170 margin was between Brigades and Mullawar in round 5. There's been 159 margin, which was Railways versus Mullawar. There's been 130 margin, 34 margin. Railways defeated Towns, and they are clearly the biggest margins.
Right down the list with 124. Incredible.
Nothing like it. Yeah.
The game could have been blown open in the first quarter, couldn't it?
That's right.
They kicked X amount of points.
They kicked 4 goals, 9. It could have been 9 goals, 4.
Exactly.
And
quite easily.
Yeah. So Towns have certainly manfully battled on, and full credit to them. But Rovers, right from the first bounce, had the class in the midfield, and they were able to get the ball centre and have first use of it as they go forward again. The ball goes the way of Jack Eastoff. He puts it on his left boot, looking again for Kobe Simpson. He didn't mark it, but he retrieved it beautifully. Goes the way of Kane Simpson. The young man gets rid of the ball just in the nick of time. Ball spills, picked up by the veteran Rowan Farris. He kicks it back out, looking out there for Timmy George. He does well, gets a handball away just in the nick of time. Towns player gets hit solidly, and the free kick will go the way of the Towns player, who is held while not in possession. Plays on now by hand. Goes the way of the player there who gets it up forward. And a good bit of play there from Josh DeLacy. But it's cut off and Rovers can rebound. Josh Simpson goes by hand. Puts his teammate Eastoff under the pump. Eastoff turns around, kicks it forward. Picked up now by Drew Forrester, the Towns captain. Short pass and finds Josh DeLacy. And Josh DeLacy's worked hard this afternoon in defence. There goes DeLacy's kick up towards half centre wing position. Rovers have it, get a handball out. Ball picked up beautifully by Brennan. He centres the ball and finds Chris Scott. Scott back towards Brennan. Brennan runs around him, and the ball is turned over again. It was the Rovers player. There was Jack Campbell, in fact. Ball goes forward, goes way now of Towns. Towns have it, and Towns can clear it through the player there in Jake Chapman. Chapman, short pass, goes the way of Forrester. Forrester kicks it up the ground, looking up there for Mitchell Marsh. Ball comes back to the player there in Tom Collins. Tom Collins kicks it up towards centre half forward. Towns player slaps it forward, but only as far as the player there in Max Lawson. Ball comes back to Towns, but the ball comes back to Tom Collins, who plays a kick behind the play and retrieves and mops up. This final term, with thanks to GT Russell Chartered Accountants, round 7 of the GNFL Premiership season. You don't see many of them these days. And a good effort there by Rowan Farris, who almost marked the ball. But
now, Glenn, Kate, get some bath salts out tonight.
Get him straight in the ice bath, or he won't be good for days.
Yeah.
No, he must come like that. He's just like a rubber man, isn't he? He just seems to bounce up. He must have amazing fitness. The ball comes the way of the player there in Campbell. Gets it out to a teammate who gets it forward. And a good bit of play there. Jacob Troy got it towards Farron Parfitt.
Oh,
he
well
goes
done.
by hand. Farron goes around the goal. Farron just got the goal on the siren, I think. It'll count. Wait on the umpire's call. He might say no. Umpire's saying, I think it was. Let's wait on it. It's a call clear. So Farron Parfitt gets his 5th of the afternoon. And the scoreboard sees Rovers 22 goals, 17 to Towns, 3 goals 2. So a massive win to Rovers this afternoon. They've led throughout, thoroughly deserved their victory, but full credit to Towns. They battled on manfully, and it's been a big win to Rovers. You're tuned to Radio Mama, the home of GNFL football. Rovers 22-17, 150, Towns 3-2-20.
Our Drennan O'Malley Motors GNFL game day.